Chapter 338. Presumptuous. Which scoundrel dares to behave atrociously in the Li family? A silver-robed elder walked out quickly with an ashen face. Behind him were dozens of powerful Sage Realm experts. When they came to the front of the mansion, they looked at the guards who were lying all over the place. The ferocious glint in their eyes intensified. Benxiao's name is Wang Kai. Wang Kai stood in front of the mansion with his hands behind his back. He looked at the silver-robed elder with an indifferent expression. Wang, swoosh. The moment these words were spoken, the expression of the silver-robed old man suddenly changed. The eyes of the several dozen experts behind him were filled with fear. If it wasn't for the fact that the Li family was extremely powerful in their hearts, they would have fled long ago. However, even if they didn't flee, the worry in their hearts didn't lessen by much. Bastard! When did such a disaster come to the Pill region? Why did he choose to come when the immortal Emperor Old Ancestor and immortal Emperor Elders went to the ethereal mountain? The silver-robed elder frowned as he stared at Wang Kai with a cold glint in his eyes. As his gaze swept across, he saw the beautiful lady sitting on the back of a bull demon. His heart jumped violently as he thought to himself, could this lady be the saintess of the sovereign Dao sect, Jing Xian? Immortal Emperor Expert. Damn it! Wang Kai came prepared for such a disaster. Even though there were many immortal martial experts in the mansion, there wasn't a single one who had reached the immortal emperor realm. How could they fight against Jing Xian, a dignified immortal emperor? Moreover, there was still Wang Kai, who wasn't afraid of immortal emperors, and a bull demon that no expert could hurt him. As he thought of this, many thoughts flashed through his mind. An extremely gentle smile suddenly appeared on the silver-robed elder's face. So it's Holy Son Wang. Sorry for not coming out to meet you. Injustice Saint, why aren't you coming out to bring Holy Son Wang to the main hall of the mansion to rest? The silver-robed elder smiled modestly. That smile was like a son meeting his father. Lord Injustice? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. Seeing him like this, he couldn't help but secretly praise him in his heart. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. Knowing that the house master was not in the house, he was so polite. In fact, he must be hiding a murderous intent. Compared to the few youths he had met before, they were many times stronger. At the very least, the silver-robed elder didn't think that he could make Wang Kai bow his head just by relying on the Li family's power and influence. Little did they know that from the silver-robed old man's point of view, just based on the various rumors about Wang Kai, he could guess that this kid was definitely a fearless person. If there was no strong suppression, who would be willing to provoke him? There's no need to call him. Just now in the Dan Immortal City, that bullshit Lord Injustice was acting cool in front of Benxiao. Benxiao conveniently, cough cough, conveniently kicked him into the sky. He probably fell to his death long ago, right? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a playful smile. He wanted to see how much patience this old man had. The silver-robed elder's pupils suddenly shrank when he heard this. A light flashed in his eyes, but he was still smiling as he gestured with his hand. I see, Holy Son Wang is right. That Lord Injustice was just an accompanying guard of mine. He actually dared to disturb Holy Son Wang's presence. He deserved to die. Please, let's talk inside the hall. Such a respectful attitude really made the dozens of Saint Realm cultivators who came along with him speechless. They all sighed in their hearts, thinking that with Wang Kai's current power, without the presence of an immortal martial artist, it would be difficult to suppress him. Li Beitong, do you still recognize us as brother and sister? Suddenly, Lin Hantian's expression was full of murderous intent as he stared at the silver-robed elder. Lin Hanyue, who was beside him, also gritted her teeth. The hatred in her beautiful eyes was extremely strong. Seeing this, Wang Kai's footsteps paused. With one hand behind his back, he raised the other hand and pointed at the silver-robed elder. He looked at the Lin siblings and asked in surprise, Li Beitong? Elder of the Li family? Was he the one who annihilated the entire Lin family? It was this evil man. Even if he had turned to ashes, Han Yue would still recognize him. Lin Han Yue gritted her teeth and shouted coldly. Whoosh! The silver-robed elder, Li Beitong, looked at the Lin siblings with a slightly puzzled look. After carefully sizing them up, his pupils suddenly shrank and his face turned ugly as he scolded. So it was you, bang! Crack! However, before Li Beitong could finish his words, Wang Kai raised his hand and slapped him hard on the back of the head. Immediately, the slap sent him flying into the ground. The white jade slabs on the ground exploded and cracked, spreading out for dozens of meters. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. If that's the case, then just kill him. You siblings can do whatever you want with him. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and lifted his foot rather casually, kicking Li Beitong, who had been slapped to the point of delirium, towards the feet of the Lin siblings. Whoosh! The dozens of Saint Stage cultivators saw this and their hearts jumped violently. They sucked in a deep breath of cold air. Today, they finally saw for themselves why Wang Kai was so ruthless that not even a blade of grass would grow in his path. Such swift and decisive means, completely disregarding the Li family's reputation. Even elder Li Beitong, who had greeted him with a smile, was mercilessly suppressed by him with a flip of his hand. This man's temperament was truly ruthless and cold to the extreme. Li Beitong, give me your life. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Hantian scolded harshly, his face full of rage as he pulled out a long sword and viciously stabbed it into Li Beitong's heart. Immediately, Lin Hanyue also pulled out a dagger from her waist. Gritting her teeth, her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred as she repeatedly stabbed Li Beitong's chest. You bang! Li Beitong painfully regained some of his consciousness, but before he could gasp for breath, his eyes rolled back and he fell to the ground, dead on the spot. Hanyue, that's enough. He's dead. Stop. Lin Hantian panted heavily. The feeling of revenge made him extremely happy. Seeing that Lin Hanyue's beautiful eyes were still red as she stabbed Li Beitong's body, he quickly stepped forward and pulled her back. Big brother. He deserved to die. He was the one who found out about the Lin family ruins, and he was the one who brought people to destroy the Lin family. We can't leave his body intact. Lin Hanyue's beautiful eyes were filled with tears, but her eyes were extremely vicious and filled with murderous intent. Such a crazy Lin Hanyue made the corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitch slightly. Was this still the shy Lin Hanyue from before? Hatred can drive people crazy. This saying was not false at all. Then let's destroy the corpse and destroy the evidence. Whoosh! Bam! Rumble! Ling Feng unsheathed his long sword and swung it. A green sword aura shot out and directly shredded Li Beitong's corpse into pieces. Even the ground was hacked open, creating a deep pit. Ling Feng did not have any good feelings towards the Li family. Haha, Ben Shao really looks down on the Li family. There are obviously many immortal martial artists in the mansion, why haven't they come out? Do you really want Ben Shao to meet you personally? Why don't you quickly come out and greet Ben Shao? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and said with a calm smile. Chapter 339. Humph, direct disciple of the Scarlet Refining Sect. How audacious! Even if the holy son of the Scarlet Refining Sect came, it would be difficult for him to survive today. The 13th elder snorted coldly with an ashen face. Immediately, his palm turned into a claw and fiercely clawed at Bai He. Hand over your life! Swoosh! Bai He's heart violently jumped when he saw this. He was only at the Emperor stage. How could he defeat an immortal king stage elder? Not to mention being unable to block it, even dodging it was absolutely impossible. In a moment of desperation, Bai He could only shout loudly, "Brother Wang, save me! Don't play with me like this!" Bang! Suddenly, Wang Kai casually waved his hand and completely disintegrated the 13th elder's attack. It seemed like a simple wave, but the force was extremely terrifying. It forced the 13th elder to retreat dozens of steps before he could stop himself. It's just a joke. This by he did come with Benshao. Yes, he was also the one who led the way to the Li clan. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he said with a playful smile. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, it immediately caused Bai He to smile bitterly. After all this time, this was Wang Kai's true goal. Did he want to completely tie him to his ship? Looking at the 13th elder again, his face was currently green and white. It could be seen that the attack just now had caused him to be slightly injured. However, his killing intent towards Bai He had deepened. Seeing this scene, Bai He could only sigh regretfully in his heart. How good would it be if I didn't find Wang Kai to refine the 9 revolutions soul return pill back then? Now that Miss Gu has left for some reason, Wang Kai has already pushed me into the abyss in order to find out about the ruins. Sigh. Haha, direct disciple of the Scarlet Refining Sect Bai He? Could it be the Weapon Regions Bai clan? Speaking of which, my Li clan has some ties with the Bai clan. The 13th elder calmed his surging blood. While he was shocked by Wang Kai's strength, he was even more furious towards Bai He. The Bai family was merely a second-rate force in the weapon district, yet they actually dared to bring a scourge like Wang Kai to the Li family, and even dared to threaten to rob them. Where did such courage come from? Wang Kai was the holy son of Treasure Trove Pavilion. Even if he didn't have this status, his innate nature was that of someone who feared nothing. He didn't have any misgivings, but how could White River not be worried about how the Li family would deal with the Bai family? In 13th Elder's view, White River was undoubtedly courting death. Bai He became even more bitter when he saw this. He secretly thought that the enmity between him and the Li family had been formed. It was impossible for the Bai family's crafting shop to gain a foothold in the pill domain without the Li family's permission. Now it seemed that it was over. The only thing I can do now is to stay by Wang Kai's side. Without him, not only will I die soon, even the Bai family will be implicated. Brother Wang, oh Brother Wang, you are really hateful. Bai He secretly sighed in his heart. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. His expression was rather playful as he looked at the 13th elder and Bai He. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, he pulled Jing Xian's lily-white hand and said with a faint smile, "Quickly take out all the treasures. Yes, don't take out the low-grade ones and ask for trouble. If there are too few treasures, don't blame this young master for burning down your Li clan in a fit of dissatisfaction. Yes, Holy Sun Wang, don't worry. This time, the Li family will certainly give you a great fortune." 13th elder suppressed his anger and said with a smile on his face. Then, 13th elder respectfully led the way. Wang Kai and Jing Xian looked at each other and smiled slightly as they followed behind. "Papa." Niu Zhetian snorted and glared at Wang Kai. He said in a muffled voice, "Little Wang, try to get as many celestial-grade alchemy materials as possible. I have a lot of ancient celestial-grade alchemy recipes. I guarantee you won't be able to refine them all." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He slightly nodded and didn't say anything. The Li family's celestial emperor ancestor wasn't here. How could he return empty-handed? Inside the Li family mansion, Wang Kai and Jing Xian were sitting on either side of the main seat. Niu Zhetian had broken the table on the left and was lying on the ground. After Ling Feng, Ken Ren and the rest sat down, the 13th elder could only force a smile as he lifted his hand and patted. His tone was somewhat unnatural as he said, "Men, bring the 3 treasures over." However, before anyone outside could respond, Wang Kai looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. His expression was rather playful as he laughed. "How many? Benshao didn't hear you clearly. Can you say that again?" 13th elder's face stiffened when he heard Wang Kai's words. Anger burned in his heart, but when he thought about the Grand Elder's warning, he could only grit his teeth and endure it. "Holy Sun Wang, please don't be impatient. These 3 treasures are not ordinary items. Once Holy Sun Wang accepts them, if there are other items that you are looking for, the Li family will naturally not neglect you. The 13th elder said with a smile. These words caused Wang Kai's expression to soften a little as he faintly smiled and said, "You're not bad. Seeing that you're so sensible, this young master will take a little less later." Take less? 13th elder became even more furious. Then, 3 beautiful women walked in from outside the hall, each carrying a jade plate. 13th elder respectfully introduced the items. Of these 3 treasures, the first one is, why go through so much trouble? Just open them all. Ben Shao is the master of the immortal martial domain. Why would he waste time on you? Wang Kai smiled indifferently. With a wave of his hand, the golden gauze on the jade plates was blown away. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Buzz. On each of the 3 jade plates, there was a small and exquisite object. The first item was a pill cauldron that was only the size of a palm. The second item was a set of 3 black bottles. The third item was a spatial ring. Holy Sun Wang, please take a look. This cauldron is called the Earth Pill Cauldron. If you use it to refine pills, even a fledgling alchemist will have a 30% chance of refining an Earth-grade pill. Before 13th elder could finish his words, Wang Kai waved his hand in disdain and said, "Only a mere 30% chance of refining an Earth-grade pill? Are you trying to make fun of Ben Shao? Don't you know that Ben Shao has the dustless fire and can refine a heaven-grade pill?" Next. Buzz. Crack. Suddenly, with a sweep of Wang Kai's hand, the pill cauldron was forcefully shattered into pieces, frightening the servant girl who was holding the jade plate. She cried out in alarm and fell to the ground, her pretty face deathly pale. "You can leave now." A cold glint flashed across the 13th elder's eyes. He waited for the lady to leave with the jade plate in a panic. Only then did he point to the second jade plate and said, "Holy Sun Wang, this bottle stores 3 ethereal flames that have been condensed. Each ethereal flame requires the ordinary flames of 1,000 people to gather together before it can be condensed. Within these 3 bottles, each bottle contains 10,000 people's ethereal flames." Bastard! Simply a bastard! Suddenly, before Wang Kai could speak, he could no longer sit still. He stood up with an ashen face and quickly walked to the jade plates. With a flip of his hand, he smashed the 3 bottles onto the ground. Chapter 340. Buzz. 3 gray fireballs were quietly floating in the air. They did not have any temperature to speak of. However, if one were to carefully sense them, one would discover that the fireballs contained extremely frightening power. The Li family is indeed worthy of being the #1 alchemy family in the pill domain. In order to ensure that they can refine high-grade elixirs, they are so ruthless as to deprive countless people of their awakened mortal fires. They really deserve to die. He cursed with an ashen face. The 13th elder's eyes became even colder when he heard this. He stared coldly at he and sneered, "Family brat, if you have the ability, why don't you ask your family's craftsmen to stop using ethereal fire? Now that you have come to my Li family to behave so atrociously, do you think the family is invincible in Sun Moon Island?" Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Baihe's expression instantly changed, and his eyes were filled with surprise and bewilderment. Earlier, because he was too furious, he'd actually forgotten that this was the Li clan. However, after thinking about it, he had already offended them. Was there still a need to be afraid? Baihe's expression immediately turned cold and he scolded sternly, "How dare you? If any craftsman in the Bai family dare to use ethereal fire to refine weapons, I will punish them severely." If you have the ability, the Bai family would have been destroyed long ago. How could it continue to be a second-rate craftsman family? The 13th elder snorted disdainfully. Bai He held his breath and was left speechless. The meaning behind the 13th elder's words was very clear. He was also very clear about the Bai family's situation. It was impossible to completely cut off the use of ethereal fire. Even if it was possible, Bai He admitted that he could not do it. "All right, there is no need for the two of you to quarrel. As the saying goes, all crows in the world are black. Just mind your own business. Ben Shao doesn't care about these 3 ethereal fires." Next, Wang Kai shrugged and said with an indifferent smile, "Why would he need ethereal fire when he had dustless fire? Moreover, the condensation of each ethereal fire required 1,000 mortal fires. That meant the lives of 1,000 cultivators who had successfully awakened their mortal fires. After all, once a mortal fire was extracted from the body, the owner of the mortal fire would definitely die. As for the 3 ethereal fires, they were even more powerful. Each of them was formed from 10,000 mortal fires. 3 of them were equivalent to 30,000 lives. Although Wang Kai didn't consider himself an evil person, he wasn't a kind person either. Looking at the entire Sun Moon Island's alchemists and blacksmiths, who knew how many of them used ethereal fire. Even if they had the ability, they wouldn't care. In this world, the strong preyed on the weak. The weak were everywhere, and the world was filled with endless suffering. How could they manage it all? The only thing he could do was to take care of himself. The 13th elder respectfully explained, "Holy Son Wang might not understand the power of ethereal fire. Each of these 3 ethereal fires can be used by a celestial alchemist for more than a month. If used to kill an enemy, even if it's not as powerful as a mysterious fire, it's still the most powerful type of fire." Now that there were 3 supreme treasures, if 2 of them were not fancied, then when Wang Kai got angry later, wouldn't the Li family be doomed? The ethereal fire formed from 10,000 lives can only be used by a celestial alchemist for a month? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at him curiously. Seeing this, the 13th elder's eyes lit up. He quickly nodded and said, "What Holy Son Wang said is right, and its power is extremely terrifying. Although it's not as powerful as a mysterious fire, Holy Son Wang's dustless fire doesn't have the ability to kill an enemy. If you can, well, let's get another elder here." Wang Kai shrugged and interrupted him impatiently. Then, with a flip of his hand, he slapped the air. Seeing this, the 13th elder's pupils suddenly shrank. He didn't expect Wang Kai to suddenly attack him. Immediately, he exclaimed, "Holy Son Wang, you ah!" Bang! Crack! In an instant, a green palm print flew out and punched a bloody hole in the 13th elder's chest. The 13th elder's body flew out of the hall and exploded outside. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing a 5th-grade immortal king. The reward is 10,000 experience points. Ben Shao is such a kind-hearted man. How can he use such despicable methods to obtain power? Wang Kai sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. The reward is 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Clap, clap, clap. Seeing this, Bai He instantly clapped his hands and said with admiration, "Brother Wang is really a real man. I admire you. I admire you. You did well in this matter." Jing Xian's beautiful eyes flashed as she looked at Wang Kai with admiration. Wang Kai's eyebrows twitched when he heard this. He immediately got up and waved his hand, saying heroically, "When Ben Shao regains control of the immortal martial domain, he will definitely issue an order that no cultivator is allowed to use ethereal fire to harm the world. He will return peace to the world." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. The reward is 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Regaining control of the immortal martial domain? When did you control the immortal martial domain? The corners of Bai He and the others' mouths twitched when they heard this, but they didn't say anything. If Wang Kai really had the ability to control the immortal martial domain, it would be a good thing if he could get rid of ethereal fire. Pa. Niu Zhetian snorted and said with disdain, "Little Wang, if you can use these 3 ethereal fires together with the dustless fire, even if they are not as powerful as the mystical fire, they will be similar. They can make up for your dustless fire's weakness. Do you really not want them?" Swoosh. As soon as he said this, Wang Kai was stunned. He couldn't help but look at the 3 ethereal fires. He felt as if there were countless ants crawling in his heart. The ethereal fire and the dustless fire could be used together. Even if they were not as powerful as the mystical fire, they were similar. These words really moved Wang Kai. But now that he had already bragged, how could he use them? Wang Kai smiled awkwardly when he saw Jing Xian and the others looking at him strangely. He could only glare at Niu Zhetian and smile. It's just ethereal fire. It's not fair to the world. Ben Shao is a kind person. How can he use it? Let's destroy it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. The reward is 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, Wang Kai clenched his teeth and flicked his fingers. 3 pale white dustless fire extinguished the 3 gray ethereal fires. Elders of the Li clan, quickly come out and greet Ben Shao. Immortal kings and those who don't have good eyesight, don't come over. Following Wang Kai's shout, the expressions of the numerous elders who were waiting in the Li Estate's elder hall all froze, their faces ashen to the extreme. The 13th elder, a patient person, had died at the hands of Wang Kai. Who could survive? Or rather, who dared to go? Grand Elder, just now Wang Kai said that immortal kings were not qualified to go, so... The 5th elder said awkwardly. The other elders also looked at the Grand Elder, who was their leader. In the face of such a vicious scourge like Wang Kai, the elders present were not willing to see him, even if they were angry. Chapter 341. The Li residence was as big as a maze. Wang Kai held Jing Xian's hand and covered the entire Li residence with his divine spirit. They quickly passed through the hall. Everywhere they passed, the people of the Li residence would hide in panic. Those who could not hide were so scared that they knelt on the ground and trembled. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was really speechless. It seemed that the influence of the rumors about him in the outside world was simply too bad. With an extremely gloomy mood, he only stopped when he arrived at a courtyard called Spirit Garden. Rather than a courtyard, it was more like a herb garden for spirit herbs. Standing at the entrance, one could smell the fragrance of herbs coming from the garden. Holy Maiden of the sovereign Taoist sect, Jing Xian. Since you're here, come in. As a clear voice came from the garden, Wang Kai and Jing Xian could not help but look at each other in surprise. They had not sensed the Holy Maiden's divine spirit probing, but she had already discovered them. This meant that when Jing Xian probed the Holy Maiden, the other party had also sensed her. Wang Kai did not mind. After all, with the system's concealment, as long as he did not reveal his aura, no one would be able to discover him. But Jing Xian was different. As a celestial emperor, she was actually silently detected by the Holy Maiden, who was a celestial lord. This voice is rather familiar. Could it really be the top hostess of the White Jade Hotel, Li Lingxian? Wang Kai frowned slightly. This voice was very similar to Li Lingxian's, but it felt like something was missing, and something was also added. Jing Xian's eyes flickered slightly as she stared at the courtyard. Suddenly, she laughed softly. It's rumored that the Holy Maiden of the Spirit Immortal sect consumed the second origin spirit pill 1,000 years ago. It seems that the rumors are true. Second origin spirit pill? The Holy Maiden of the Li family 1,000 years ago, Li Lingxian? Hearing this, Wang Kai was stunned. He thought to himself, it seems that this spirit immortal is not the same spirit immortal. The Holy Maiden of the Li family from 1,000 years ago, Li Lingxian of Fan Zhou's White Jade Tower, was only in her 20s. Haha, Lingxian didn't want to waste her cultivation when she was sealed, So she took the second origin spirit pill and walked the world with 2 origin spirit. Now that the seal has been broken, she can take back her first origin spirit clone. In terms of cultivation, Ling Xian is not inferior to Saintess Jingxian. The clear laughter slowly spread out, causing Wang Kai's eyebrows to twitch. He snorted in disdain and immediately held Jingshuan's hand as they walked into the spirit garden. So what if I don't lose to Jingxian? If you can't satisfy Benshao, don't blame Benshao for stripping you naked. Li Lingxian, that little b****, tch. It really is you. Whoosh. When they walked into the spirit garden, they saw a woman in a purple dress in the spirit herb field. She was holding a jade pot and watering the spirit herb seedlings that had just grown. She was extremely beautiful and had a clear temperament. She looked the same as Li Lingxian in Fanzhou. In particular, there were many purple petals between her eyebrows. This made Wang Kai even more certain that this woman was undoubtedly Li Lingxian. Sir, are you the holy son of the Endless Treasures Pavilion, Wang Kai? Haha, could it be that when Holy Son Wang traveled outside, you also went to Wuzhou and saw Lingxian's origin spirit clone? Saintess Jingshuan's beautiful eyes blinked. She flipped her hand and gently placed the jade pot on the ground. She looked at Wang Kai in surprise and laughed. Such a clear and elegant Li Lingxian caused Wang Kai's eyebrows to twitch. Li Lingxian, that little b****, tch, you really know how to act cool. When you were the star of the White Jade Tower, you swayed your body every day and acted all seductive and seductive. Now you've learned how to act elegant? Wang Kai snorted with a disdainful expression. If not for the fact that Jingxian was also present, Wang Kai really wanted to press her to the ground and ruthlessly ravage her. That way, he could fulfill the promise he made when he left Fanzhou. After all, Li Lingxian had said that as long as Wang Kai could make it onto the Youth Sovereign leaderboard, she would repay him with her body. However, just as Wang Kai thought that Li Lingxian had nowhere to hide, he saw her face suddenly turn cold. She stared at Wang Kai and said in a rather icy tone, "Holy Son Wang, where is the White Jade Tower you mentioned? Can you tell me?" Seeing this, Wang Kai's face instantly darkened. He thought to himself that this little b****, tch, was really good at acting. Just as he was about to refute her, Jingxian pulled on his sleeve. The Li Lingxian you saw should be the spiritual fairy saintess' second primordial spirit clone. The first primordial spirit clone has already been merged with her original body, causing her cultivation to reach the level of a celestial emperor. If you expose the information about the second primordial spirit clone to her and she successfully summons it back, it's hard to guess what her cultivation level will be like. It will also harm the Li Lingxian you know, Jingxian reminded him through voice transmission. Whoosh. Hearing this, Wang Kai was stunned. However, after thinking about it, he felt that something was very wrong. Immediately, he asked curiously through voice transmission, "The Li Lingxian I saw was only a martial king. Is the second primordial spirit clone that weak?" He had seen the primordial spirit clones at Dragon Mountain when he fought against the various clans to seal the Thearka's sons. Every one of them had strength that surpassed the original body. Since that was the case, if the Li Lingxian of the Fan State was really the spiritual fairy saintess clone, why would she be so weak? The primordial spirit clone formed after consuming the second primordial spirit pill is not the same as the first primordial spirit clone. If you want to have strength, you must cultivate from the beginning. Moreover, because of the environment and the level of the cultivation method, it will naturally be difficult to raise your cultivation level, Jingxian said through voice transmission. Hearing this, Wang Kai immediately understood. He thought about the spiritual origin of the Fan State. It was not at the same level as the 6 states and 1 island. Moreover, Li Lingxian's master was Lu Baiyu. Lu Baiyu, the tower master of White Jade House, was only at the level of a great emperor. The difference between her and the spiritual fairy saintess was too great. The cultivation method that she could teach Li Lingxian of the fan state must be of a very low level, right? That's not right. 1,000 years ago, the second primordial spirit clone was released. Doesn't that mean that the Li Lingxian I saw should also be 1,000 years old? Why is she not even 20 years old? Could it be that the second primordial spirit pill can prevent one's age from increasing? Wang Kai rubbed his nose. He suddenly felt a little confused. Jingxian shook her head lightly. She moved her feet lightly and blocked in front of Wang Kai. She stared at the spiritual fairy saintess with a guarded gaze. She secretly said through voice transmission, "If the primordial spirit clone formed by the second primordial spirit pill cannot cultivate to the level of a martial king within 100 years, not only will it not increase its lifespan, it will also experience life and death like an ordinary person. After death, its memories will be erased and it will live another life." Live another life? Didn't that mean that Li Lingxian of the fan state had lived for a full 10 lives? This second primordial spirit pill was really very strange. Wang Kai was extremely shocked. It seemed that he had to get the recipe for the second primordial spirit pill when he went to the Ethereal Lantern Mystery Festival. Even if he didn't use it himself, he could refine it and auction it off. Holy Sun Wang, do you really not intend to tell us the whereabouts of Ling Xian's second primordial spirit clone? The spiritual fairy saintess asked coldly. She walked over with light steps with her hands behind her back and her long purple dress dragging behind her. Chapter 342. Hearing this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and casually shrugged. He said with a mocking smile, "Unfortunately, that Li Lingxian was sent to the heavens by this young master a year ago. I'm afraid you won't be able to see her again in this lifetime. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Above the 9 heavens?" These words caused Li Lingxian to stop in her tracks. A look of disdain flashed across her eyes. She chuckled impatiently and said, "Holy Sun Wang, don't say such nonsense. Ling Xian can sense that the original soul avatar is still alive and well. She can sense it but doesn't know where it is? It must be because of the seal in Fan Province, right?" Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. He flipped his hand and took out the 10,000 formation restriction map. He weighed it in his hand and said with a playful smile, "Little girl Ling Xian, Ben Shao wants all the spiritual herbs in your garden. If you dare to be disrespectful, Ben Shao doesn't mind capturing you and making you my servant for a few days. Oh, of course, it's for my beautiful Jing Xian." Buzz. Li Lingxian's eyes turned cold. She glanced at Wang Kai with murderous intent. She flipped her hand and took out a purple sword. She laughed coldly and said, "Holy daughter Jing Xian, I've been sealed for 1,000 years. Now that I've broken the seal, why don't we have a spar?" Whoosh! Jing Xian was expressionless. She waved her hand and a string of Bodhi appeared. She said indifferently, "Jing Xian has the same intention." Whoosh! However, just as the two women were about to fight, Wang Kai's figure flashed and appeared between them. He raised his hands and stopped them. He said with an ugly expression, "I'm a man. How can I let a woman fight? If this gets out, Ben Shao's reputation as the bragging god of this generation will be ruined. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th grade Immortal King realm. Hee hee, don't tell me that a man fighting a woman won't be laughed at by others? Also, Ling Xian isn't being direct. With Holy Sun Wang's age, being able to reach the immortal martial realm and making a name for himself in the immortal martial domain is truly not easy. However, if you want to fight against Ling Xian, you'd better cultivate for a few more years." Li Lingxian mocked with a cold smile. Damn, how dare he look down on Ben Shao? Wang Kai's face darkened when he heard this. He stared at her with an unfriendly gaze and suddenly grinned. Little girl Ling Xian, it seems like you doubt Benxiao's ability. Wang Kai, please wait quietly at the side for a moment. Jing Xian really wants to see how capable the strongest generation of the immortal martial realm from 1,000 years ago is. Jing Xian chuckled softly. The moment she finished speaking, she took a step forward. With the Bodhi bead in her hand, she took the lead to attack the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady. Buzz. Seeing this, the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady's eyes turned cold. Her delicate body moved, and she flipped into the air. She waved the purple sword in her hand and shouted softly. As waves of purple light appeared on the blade of the sword, her body pierced straight down from the sky. 3 immortal moves. First move, shock. Whoosh. In an instant, the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady's body suddenly sped up and descended straight down. Especially the purple sword light, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Supreme Immortal Technique, Buddha Crossing Calamity. Buzz. Jing Xian's body did not move at all. Her jade-like hand twirled the Bodhi bead as she chanted. Rays of golden Buddha light flashed around her body, forming a giant golden Buddha. It raised its palm high and collided with the purple sword light. Clank! Bang bang bang! Rumble! The purple sword light touched the golden Buddha's palm. Golden light and purple light fell like meteors, splattering in all directions. The collision of the 2 immortal martial techniques caused the entire spiritual herbal garden to tremble endlessly. Immortal martial technique. Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. This was the first time he had seen an immortal-level martial skill. Although the power didn't seem to be great, he knew very well that when 2 immortal emperors used martial skills of the same level to collide, most of the power would have been offset by each other. Moreover, the artifacts used by both parties were definitely immortal martial technique. It was obvious how terrifying their power was. If the might of the immortal-level martial skill was not stopped, it was likely that the entire Li mansion would be turned into ruins in an instant. Bang bang bang! Buzz buzz buzz! Jing Xian's jade-like hand twirled the Bodhi bead continuously, causing the golden Buddha light to become even more dazzling. Then, the golden Buddha's palm suddenly clenched and tightly grasped the purple sword. At the same time, the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady's eyes flickered with purple light. The purple petal between her brows flashed violently, causing its power to become even more terrifying. This Spirit Celestial Holy Lady is very powerful. She can actually fight Jing Xian to a standstill. Wang Kai frowned slightly. If they were at the same level, he would have to use all his skills if he wanted to defeat Jing Xian. Stop it now! Stop! Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, a dozen figures appeared in the air. Their faces were extremely pale. However, when they saw the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady, who was fighting Jing Xian to a standstill, they were all stunned. They were the elders of the Li family. Congratulations, Spirit Celestial Holy Lady, for successfully breaking through to the immortal Emperor realm. The Grand Elder congratulated her with cupped fists. It's really a blessing for the Li family. The other elders also congratulated her respectfully. They had originally thought that the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady would definitely not be Jing Xian's match. The elders had come this time with the determination to die. Who would have thought that things would exceed their expectations? What are you guys shouting about here for? Get lost immediately. If you dare to cause Benxiao's wife to be distracted, don't blame Benxiao for killing all of you here. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at them with disdain. If not for the fact that Jing Xian would be unhappy with him fighting 2 against 1, he would have already attacked the Spirit Celestial Holy Lady. The 10,000 formation restriction diagram could even suppress Jing Xian. A mere Spirit Celestial Holy Lady would naturally not be able to escape. However, a peerless beauty like Jing Xian was naturally proud and arrogant. How could she allow herself to fight 2 against 1 with him? If it were someone else, it would be fine. There was no need to care about the righteous way of fighting. As long as they could win, they would use all the methods available to them. However, Jing Xian could not do that. Right now, Wang Kai could only watch carefully from the side. If the situation was not good, he would definitely immediately suppress the spirit celestial holy lady. The gazes of many elders were extremely cold. They looked at each other and laughed coldly in unison. Wang Kai, the holy lady Jingxian that you rely on has been blocked by our Li clan's holy lady. With just you alone, what other methods do you have to continue behaving atrociously here? Men, execute Wang Kai and the other villains of the immortal martial domain on the spot. Don't leave their corpses intact. The Grand Elder sneered with a cold expression. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of figures appeared in the air. Their auras were all at the peak of the immortal king realm. Devil cultivators, meditation cultivators, martial cultivators, demonic cultivators, spirit cultivators, and even Buddhist cultivators were among them. Their strength was much stronger than many of the elders present. Humph, you're just a piece of trash that relies on a woman. Now that there is no one around you, let's see who can protect you? Kill. The ninth elder, who had long been unable to endure Wang Kai's arrogance in the Li clan, berated loudly with an extremely joyful expression. Ben Shao is really being underestimated. Good. After Ben Shao exterminates all of you, I will capture that holy lady and order her around as a maid for a few hundred years. At that time, I want to see what face your Li clan has left in the immortal martial domain. A cold light flashed in Wang Kai's eyes. He immediately spread out the 10,000 formation restriction diagram. Restriction: all life is equal. Chapter 343. Bang. The silver-white door suddenly closed and dissipated. The four elders of the Li family also fell to the ground. Their bodies, which were originally filled with power, also returned to their original appearance at this moment. What happened? What was that door just now? What on earth happened? The four elders of the Li family were shocked. They couldn't understand. They should have died by self-detonation, but now, they were actually unharmed. The cultivators from the various provinces who were kneeling on the ground were also stunned by this scene. They had indeed seen a silver-white door appear, and they had also seen a green-scaled claw grab the four elders and drag them in. But they didn't know why they failed to self-detonate. From the appearance of the silver-white door to its disappearance, it only took a blink of an eye. How did it resolve the self-detonation of the four elders? What kind of terrifying means did Wang Kai use? Haha, as long as Ben Shao doesn't want you to die, even if the gods come, they still can't resist. On the other hand, if Ben Shao wants you to die, even the heavens can't change that. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. As soon as these words were spoken, the eyes of the four elders of the Li family were immediately covered with despair. They trembled and fell to the ground. Endless regret filled their hearts. If they had the chance to do it all over again, they would never choose to provoke Wang Kai. If they continued to endure and wait for the immortal Emperor Old Ancestor to return, wouldn't it be foolproof? However, there was often no medicine for regret in the world. So, you can die now. Swoosh. As soon as his voice fell, Wang Kai waved the spiritual medicine. Rays of green sword light pierced through and immediately cut the bodies of the four elders of the Li family into half. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 4 ninth-grade immortal kings. You have received a total of 40,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the first-grade Immortal Emperor realm. Upon hearing the notification, Wang Kai's eyes flashed with joy. Now that he had broken through to the Immortal Emperor realm, he would surely be able to cultivate immortal-ranked martial arts. He wouldn't be too far away from the peak of the immortal martial realm. Bang! Rumble! At the same time, The outcome of the battle between Jing Xian and the Saintess had also been decided. With a series of loud booms, the Saintess was sent flying by the giant golden Buddha. She crashed into the wall of the courtyard. Whoosh! However, this was not the end. One could see Jing Xian raise her arm. Between her two fingers was shockingly a silver needle that flickered with a cold light. She flicked it towards the collapsed wall ruins with a flick of her finger. Puff! Whoosh! Within the ruins, the Holy Maiden's figure flashed as she stepped into the air. Her jade-like hand was clutching her chest. Her pretty face was pale as she stared at Jing Xian with blood at the corner of her mouth. She coldly said, "This Holy Maiden will remember this needle. In the future, I will definitely return it double." As soon as she finished speaking, the Saintess turned into a stream of light and escaped from the Li residence. Seeing this, Wang Kai was just about to activate the array to seal her when Jing Xian flashed over and waved her hand to stop him. "She is at the Immortal Emperor realm. If she wants to escape, even if we join forces, we won't be able to take her down. Moreover, she was hit by Jing Xian's Supreme Vitality sealing needle. If she can't get rid of it within 3 days, her primordial spirit will definitely collapse and die." Jing Xian said softly. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. With a rather dissatisfied expression, he snorted. "That's not necessarily true. If Benshao activates the array, it will undoubtedly be impossible for her to escape. This time, if she escapes, I'm afraid that she will find the Li family's immortal Emperor Patriarch to get rid of that needle." Originally, he had boasted that he would definitely capture the Saintess and make her his servant. However, in the end, she still managed to escape. Wang Kai was very dissatisfied with the fact that he couldn't fulfill his dream. Are you blaming Jing Xian? Don't worry. The Supreme Vitality sealing needle can't be removed unless one is a direct disciple of the Supreme Taoist sect. The Li family's patriarch doesn't have that ability. Jing Xian's eyes moved. On her beautiful face, those eyes that seemed to be able to make one unable to hide were looking at Wang Kai playfully. Wang Kai's face suddenly stiffened, but after thinking about it, he couldn't lose face. After all, there were many experts present. Thinking of this, he immediately lifted Jing Xian up and snorted, "Jing Xian, it seems that this young master's love for you is still not enough." Lecture. Jing Xian's pretty face was slightly red. Being carried in Wang Kai's arms, her heart thumped nonstop. She couldn't help but recall the madness in the carriage. For a moment, her eyes became even more flustered. Holy Sun Wang, seeing this, many experts hurriedly lowered their heads. Their voices were hoarse and trembling. However, Wang Kai didn't even look at them. With a flip of his hand, he took away all the spiritual herbs in the spirit garden. With a tap of his foot, he carried Jing Xian and stepped into the air, leaving the courtyard. Outside the Li residence, in the middle of the street, creaking sounds came from the dragon ripping the heavens carriage, which was the size of a house. That rhythmic and fast smacking sound, as well as that heavy panting and low moaning sound. Hearing this, the guards who were still lying on the ground were all stunned. They had been severely injured by Wang Kai before entering the Li residence and didn't even have the strength to get up. However, who would have thought that Wang Kai would suddenly appear again with Jing Xian in his arms? Moreover, outside the Li residence, in front of them, he took out a carriage and did that kind of thing with Saintess Jing Xian inside. Such a situation made the guards extremely angry, but they were also extremely helpless. Who is this Wang Kai? Not only is he unharmed after breaking into the Li residence, he even dares to do this kind of thing in front of the Li residence. Is there really no one in the immortal martial domain who can deal with him? Many guards of the Li residence sighed secretly. They were seriously injured and couldn't move, but they were still listening to the sounds coming from the carriage. The double physical and mental torture made them feel like they were about to die. The waves of sounds that people couldn't help but listen to continued for more than an hour, gradually coming to an end. In front of the Li residence, Niu Zhetian and the others had been waiting for a long time. They absolutely didn't expect that Wang Kai would do that kind of thing at such a critical moment. Master Niu, what are we waiting for? Wang Kai is in the carriage, why don't we go over? Pai Xiu raised his head and asked puzzledly. However, in his eyes there was satisfaction. This time, he had followed Niu Zhetian to plunder the Li residence. He had swallowed countless spiritual medicines and pills, and even the most precious treasures and weapons. It could be said that he had eaten everything in the Li residence. Papa. Niu Zhetian snorted and said disdainfully, I told you to wait, so wait. Children shouldn't ask about adult matters. In the future, don't learn from Wang Kai, it's not good for your future. He, eldest senior brother, is really powerful. It seems like the rumors are true. The saintess of the Supreme Tao sect, the immortal Emperor realm, and the blood-clothed Bodhi whose name shook the 6 prefectures. Eldest senior brother is really powerful. Kanran rubbed his bald head, licked his lips, and praised with a sinister expression. Ling Feng glanced at him and said indifferently, Don't be jealous of the things between men and women. It will affect your cultivation. Chapter 344. Yes, big brother, you are right. The corners of Kanren's mouth twitched as he nodded. He respected Ling Feng from the bottom of his heart. Lin Hanyue's face turned red when she heard Ling Feng's words. Her eyes were filled with loneliness. She pinched the corners of her clothes and pursed her lips. She lowered her head and remained silent. Lin Hantian, who was watching from the side, could only sigh helplessly. Thinking about it, it was not a bad thing. For someone like Wang Kai, it would be extremely difficult to follow him. Even though Lin Hantian admired and appreciated Wang Kai, he did not want Lin Hanyue to be with him. Bai He, on the other hand, lowered his head and played with a spatial ring. From time to time, he would use his consciousness to check the contents of the ring. Every time, he would smile from ear to ear. Boy, what kind of treasure did you get? Let me see. Niu Zhetian raised his head and stared at Bai He with his big round eyes. Bai He's face stiffened when he heard this. He quickly put away the spatial ring and said with a smile, It's nothing, just some elixirs. Master Niu Zhetian won't be interested in them. Papa. Niu Zhetian snorted. The more Niu Zhetian acted like this, the more suspicious he became. He immediately walked over to Bai He and said, Let me see. This. Bai He smiled bitterly. He had no choice but to give the spatial ring to Master Niu Zhetian. However, after Niu Zhetian checked the materials, he turned around and left. He said disdainfully, You don't look like you've seen the world. It's just some celestial-level alchemy materials. You made it sound like you got a treasure. Master Niu Zhetian is worried about you. Who made you worry about me? Bai He looked even more bitter when he heard this. He put away the spatial ring and sighed, Brother Wang's mount is not ordinary. It doesn't even care about immortal-level alchemy materials. Niu Zhetian and Pai Xiu had plundered 90% of the treasures in the Li mansion. The remaining 1% was naturally taken by Lin Hantian and his sister, Ling Feng, Kanren and Bai He. However, the scene inside the carriage was completely different. Wang Kai and Jing Xian were already dressed neatly, and the carriage was filled with a rotten smell, causing Jing Xian's beautiful face to be filled with a blush. Jing Xian was a celestial emperor, so she could sense that Niu Zhetian and the others were outside. She was furious and regretful that she hadn't listened to him before. How was he going to resolve this awkward situation? If she were to meet them again, wouldn't she be so ashamed that she wouldn't be able to show her face? At the thought of this, Jing Xian glared at Wang Kai with a reproachful gaze. She stood up and said indifferently, Wang Kai, it is said that in the past ethereal lamp riddles, if one wants to participate, they have to cover their faces and seal their aura. Once they enter Ethereal Mountain, They are not allowed to use any cultivation method. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He didn't understand why she suddenly brought this up. However, he didn't care. He immediately reached out to hug her, but Jing Xian dodged. Don't fool around. Listen to what Jing Xian has to say. Jing Xian said in a displeased tone. She put her hands behind her back and walked lightly. Her golden dress trailed behind her, making her look extremely noble. Wang Kai, who had just tasted the sweetness, immediately squinted his eyes when he heard this. He said with a lewd smile, Jing Xian, it seems that Benxiao's love for you is still, swoosh. However, before he could finish, he saw Jing Xian looking at him coldly. Wang Kai's heart skipped a beat. He immediately sat upright on the dragon throne and pretended to be a gentleman. He nodded slightly and said, Speak. Benxiao is listening. If you can find Jing Xian in the ethereal lamp riddles without using any cultivation methods, Jing Xian promises you that at that time, you can do whatever you want. Jing Xian pursed her red lips and turned her back. Her beautiful face was slightly red. Hiss hiss. Such words were undoubtedly the most powerful fuse. Hearing this, Wang Kai immediately took a deep breath and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He asked tentatively, Is that true or false? That kind of position is also okay? That kind of position, Jing Xian frowned slightly, and a touch of shame and anger flashed in her eyes. Just now, when she was going crazy with Wang Kai, he had asked her to do several things, but the last one was too embarrassing, so she had never agreed to it. She didn't expect that he was still thinking about it. Yes, but if you cheat or if you can't find Jing Xian in the end, you have to promise Jing Xian that in the future, you have to listen to Jing Xian. Jing Xian bit her red lips so hard that a mark appeared. After she finished speaking, her small and exquisite ears were as red as fire. Okay. No problem. Benxiao's favorite thing in life was gambling. When he was born, he gambled with the wild beasts in the deep mountains and forests. When he became an adult, he gambled with the heavens. Until now, he had never lost. Jing Xian, you just have to wait for that position. Wang Kai stood up and waved his arm without saying anything. He agreed heroically without any hesitation. Wang Kai's confidence made Jing Xian panic, especially when she thought of the position he wanted. Her beautiful eyes flickered nonstop. She pretended to be calm and said coldly, Then it's decided. Jing Xian will go first. See you in the Misty Lantern Festival. Whoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, Jing Xian took a step forward. With a burst of fragrant wind, she floated out of the carriage and disappeared into the horizon. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. He smelled the remaining fragrance and couldn't help but touch his nose. He grinned and said, Jing Xian. Even if Benxiao cheated, who would be able to find out? Moreover, Benxiao has the ability to calculate the heavens and the earth. Even if he didn't cheat, how long could you hide? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Whoosh! Wang Kai waved his hand and opened the bead curtain. Then, he flipped his hand and released the 10 golden dragons and Jin Duo from the Tower of Babel. The patriarch of the Cyan Phoenix clan, Qing and the princess of the Kuan Peng clan, Kuan Shui, also appeared in the carriage. Old Niu, take your positions and prepare to set off for the ethereal mountain. You lead the way outside. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with an indifferent smile while lying on the golden dragon throne. Qing and Kuan Shui looked at each other and sighed helplessly. They picked up the jade plates on the table and went to Wang Kai's side to serve him carefully. Whoosh, whoosh. As Niu Zhetian and the others entered the carriage, they looked at Wang Kai with disdain. Even Lin Hanyu was dissatisfied with Wang Kai. She had never thought that the magnanimous hero would have such a side to him. He had just had a good time with Jing Xian, and now, He was enjoying being served by the patriarch of the Cyan Phoenix clan and Princess Kuan Shui. "Brother Wang, you're really amazing. This Bai admires you, admires you." Bai He was sitting next to Jin Duo. He couldn't help but turn around and clasp his fist. He looked sincere and full of admiration. Chapter 345. An immortal grade martial skill requires 100 bragging points? Wang Kai frowned slightly and used his mind to check the list of martial skills in the store. There were hundreds of martial skills, all of which were at the high immortal level instead of the previous 5. However, the required bragging points had increased to 100. Host, Wang Kai. Profession, martial artist, talisman cultivator, array cultivator. Secondary profession, alchemist. Realm, first grade celestial lord. Cultivation skills, immortal true spirit. Technique, elixir codex, spirit codex. Martial skill, vitality bomb. Equipment, Tower of Babel, 9 dragon cauldron, god punishing brush, 10,000 formation seal map. Bloodline, grade 9. Bragging points, 400 experience. 70000900000 inch. With the amount of bragging points I have now, it seems like I can only choose 4 immortal grade martial skills to train in for the time being. Wang Kai took a quick glance at the list before closing it. Then, he once again opened the list of martial skills. On the left and right sides of the martial skill list, there were lists of cultivation skills, ultimate treasures, magical devices, elixirs, natural treasures, etc. However, Wang Kai only glanced at them casually and did not pay much attention to them. After all, the plant arsenal could turn everything into immortal-grade artifacts. Elixirs and elixirs were not of use to him at the moment since he had the dustless fire. As for natural treasures, cultivation skills, and other treasures, he did not intend to exchange them for bragging points for now. Furthermore, he only had 4 bragging points at the moment. He could only cultivate 4 immortal-level martial skills. Wang Kai used his mind to flip through them, carefully examining the abilities and might of each martial skill. After a full hour, he finally chose the 4 martial skills that he was most interested in. Teleportation, body movement martial skill. It can track the aura of all living things and achieve teleportation. Collapsing fist, offensive martial skill. With one punch, it can turn mountains and all living things into ashes. Soul suppression, soul martial skill. It can kill enemies from a distance through the coverage of the soul. Seizing technique, mind martial skill. It can seize the target's body with one's mind and control the target's body and mind. Wang Kai's expression suddenly became joyful. His eyebrows relaxed as he thought to himself, soul suppression, soul. When Ben Shao was a Saint King, his soul could cover an area of 90,000 miles. I wonder how far it can cover now? Even if it's still only 90,000 miles, it's really fast to kill any strong enemy within 90,000 miles by relying on this martial skill. Cultivate all 4 of these martial skills. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the high-grade immortal tier skill, teleportation. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to host for successfully cultivating the high-grade immortal class skill, soul suppression. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the high-grade immortal class skill, annihilating fist. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations host body, seizing technique skill, seizing technique, points. Host, Wang occupation, martial artist, talisman cultivator, array cultivator. Profession, alchemist. Realm, first grade celestial lord. Cultivation skills, immortal true spirit. Technique, alchemy codex, spirit codex. Martial skills, teleportation, soul suppression, collapsing fist, seizing technique, vitality bomb. Equipment, Tower of Babel, 9 dragon cauldron, god punishing brush, 10,000 formation seal diagram. Bloodline, Ninth grade bragging points. 0 experience. 70000900000 swoosh. Wang Kai's eyes suddenly opened. A ray of light flashed in his eyes. He stretched his body as if he was very tired. He yawned and said, I just entered a dream and went to see the fairies in the 9 heavens. Unfortunately, they love me so much that they can't stop. That's why I came back a little late. Congratulations, host, for successfully boasting. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Qing and Kuan Shui's pretty faces froze when they heard this. They had just seen Wang Kai frowning and laughing foolishly. Now, he suddenly said such a thing. Let's go. Where are old Niu and Pixiu? Ling Feng and Broken Blade? Lin Hantian and his sister? Where did they go? Wang Kai stood up and was about to leave for the ethereal mountain. However, he suddenly found that other than himself, only Qing and Princess Kuan Shui were left in the carriage. Young Master Kai, they have already entered the ethereal mountain. Qing said softly. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. After thinking about it, he didn't care anymore. He immediately moved his feet and floated out of the carriage. He smiled faintly and said, Transform into human form and follow Benshao to the Ethereal Lantern Riddle Festival. Yes, young Master Kai. Swish. The 10 golden dragons and Prince Jin duo all let out a cry of surprise and turned back into their human forms. They thought that Wang Kai wouldn't allow them to participate in the Riddle Festival. Who knew that happiness would come so quickly? After all, the elixirs in the Ethereal Lantern Riddle Festival were all extraordinary and could be obtained by guessing the riddles. Naturally, no one wanted to miss such a good opportunity. Swish. Then, Wang Kai put away the dragon traversing the heavens chariot with a flip of his hand. He turned to look at the towering mountain in front of him. The mountain appeared and disappeared from time to time, like an illusion. Seeing this, Wang Kai's expression was full of disdain. He shook his head and sighed. This ethereal pill immortal is quite pretentious. Benshao has the dustless fire. Since when did he show off like this? Can't he learn from Benshao and keep a low profile? You've really lost your morals every day. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 2nd grade Celestial Emperor realm. Prince Jin duo and the others' mouths twitched. They wanted to say that he was showing off, but due to the bloodline contract, no one dared to say anything. Let's go down and have a look. Wang Kai shrugged and looked at the long line at the foot of the mountain. He immediately floated down with his hands behind his back. Where are you from? What's your realm? Does he have a family background? A middle-aged man beside the mountain gate asked with an impatient expression. Wu State, immortal warrior, direct descendant of the Zhang family. Spirit State, Saint Realm, direct descendant of the Shang family. Nether State, as the warriors in the line reported their names, the middle-aged man took out masks and said calmly, This mask needs to be exchanged for 10 million 9th grade spiritual stones. You are not allowed to take it off in the Lantern Festival. You are not allowed to use your cultivation or reveal your aura. You are just like an ordinary person. If you violate this rule, you will die. After hearing what the middle-aged man said, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at the experts who were queuing up. The weakest among them was at the Sage Realm. Moreover, they paid the required amount of spiritual stones without hesitation. However, the middle-aged man was quite tactful. Immortal cultivators would charge 10 million 9th rank spirit stones and Xing cultivators would charge 10 million 8th rank spirit stones. Haha, it seems like Benshao is going to make a fortune this time. So many spiritual stones are prepared for Benshao, right? That misty pill immortal is quite considerate. To be so filial to this young master, he really knows how to conduct himself. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused Ching-er and the others to be stunned. They were very puzzled as to why Wang Kai would say such a thing. However, when they saw Wang Kai swaggering to the front of the line, their hearts skipped a beat. They seemed to understand what he was going to do. Chapter 346. Young Master Kai, can you allow this servant to enter the space to cultivate? Kuan Shui said respectfully. In her opinion, cultivation was the most important thing for those riddles. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He glanced at her in surprise and immediately nodded with a smile. Since you don't want to play, then Ben Shao will send you to Tong Tian Tower to cultivate. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai flipped his hand and sent Princess Kuan Shui into Tong Tian Tower. He turned to look at the silent Ching-er and smiled faintly. Do you want to see Feng Tianan? No. Yes, I hope young Master Kai can fulfill my wish. Ching-er hesitated for a moment before gritting her teeth and bowing. The Azure Luan and Fire Phoenix were a pair, and couldn't be separated for too long. Wang Kai admired her loyalty to her love. All right, Ben Shao will send you to see Feng Tianan. However, you have to tell him that the next time he dares to be disrespectful to Ben Shao, death is the best outcome for him. Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently. After sending Ching-er into Tong Tian Tower, Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back and narrowed his eyes as he looked around. Suddenly, he smiled and said, Jingxian, oh Jingxian, I want to see how long you can hide for. Swoosh. Suddenly, a silver light appeared in Wang Kai's eyes. Under his gaze, everyone's masks were all penetrated, unable to block the prying of the eyes of truth. But immediately after, Wang Kai's heart violently jumped, and he hurriedly put away the eyes of truth. There were simply too many beautiful women present, and their snow-white bodies were truly difficult to control. Little brother, what were you looking at just now? Those eyes should be very powerful, right? Suddenly, an extremely seductive voice sounded beside his ear, causing Wang Kai's gaze to focus. This voice was extremely familiar. He saw a woman wearing extremely revealing clothes standing to the side. Her entire body was wrapped in golden gauze. Other than the 3 spots that were covered by golden armor, the rest of her body was exposed to the air. Her slender legs, her skin as white as snow, her willowy waist without a trace of excess fat, her delicate belly button, and the contours of her breasts were truly irresistible. Many of the surrounding cultivators had no time to pay attention to the riddle at this moment. Instead, they were sizing her up with shining eyes. Sweet sound. Wang Kai's eyes flickered. With such a dress and such a voice, wasn't she the Mary Buddha Temple's disciple, Miao-yin? Even though he was wearing a golden mask, he still had to change his appearance if he wanted to hide it. Haha, Ben Shao's eyes are the eyes of heaven. As long as Ben Shao stares at you, the life and death of all living things in the world will be in the hands of Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and said in a low and mysterious voice. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Hearing this, Sweet Sound's beautiful eyes blinked. The expression under the golden mask suddenly became very strange. Why did this way of speaking feel so familiar? Moreover, this person was obviously bragging. You don't believe me? Haha, why don't we give it a try? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. As soon as his voice fell, he directly used the eyes of truth to look at Sweet Sound. Buzz. When the silver light shone out of his eyes, he instantly saw Miao Yin's entire body clearly. Such an explosive and perfect body caused Wang Kai to swallow a mouthful of saliva and blurt out, I didn't expect this little girl to like tattoos. TSK, the seductive rose on her chest is really not bad. Haha, the underbelly, although the grass is sparse, it is very neat. Whoosh. As soon as these words came out, Sweet Sound's eyes immediately panicked. She hurriedly squatted on the ground and hugged her chest with her hands. Her tone was rather unnatural as she said, "Young master, your eyes. Young master, your uncle. Ben Shao is Wang Kai. Haha, little girl Sweet Sound, your body is really not bad. Thank you for your hospitality. Goodbye, I won't see you out." Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and let out a carefree laugh. Soon after, he placed his hands behind his back and walked away in a pleased manner. However, at this moment, Sweet Sound was already in a daze. She stared blankly at Wang Kai's back. After a long while, she finally reacted. She suddenly stood up and fiercely stomped her feet. Her silver teeth tightly clenched as she cursed, "Bastard Wang Kai! Bastard! Despicable bastard! Sweet Sound, and you will definitely be irreconcilable." Whoosh! Immediately, Sweet Sound chased after Wang Kai from behind with a chilling aura. Her delicate body swayed, causing her body to become even more enchanting. This caused many experts to swallow their saliva madly. "Stop!" Sweet Sound's shameful and angry voice sounded from behind, causing Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. He came back to his senses and looked at her delicate body. He could not help but touch his chin and said with a playful smile, "You want Ben Shao to be responsible? Haha, don't be delusional. There's no way. However, you are barely qualified to be Ben Shao's maid. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. I'm going to kill you." Whoosh! Suddenly, Sweet Sound bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she pounced on Wang Kai. He was caught off guard and was directly pushed to the ground by Sweet Sound. Wang Kai looked at Sweet Sound, who was lying on top of him, in astonishment. He waved his hand and held both of her hands. He snorted disdainfully and said, "Little girl, even if you like Ben Shao, you can't use force, right? Moreover, Ben Shao dislikes such crude methods the most. If you like it, it should be Ben Shao who uses force on you. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points." You, Sweet Sound immediately clenched her silver teeth. Her eyes were full of shame and anger, but she did not dare to use force. After all, this was the Ethereal Lamp Mystery Festival. "I can't use force. Even if I use force, I'm definitely not Wang Kai's match. Since there are rules here, why not use other methods to deal with Wang Kai?" Sweet Sound's eyes flickered slightly. Just now, Wang Kai did not use force to resist. Otherwise, with his cultivation realm and strength, how could he be pushed down by her? It could be seen that Wang Kai had to abide by the rules of the Ethereal Lamp Mystery Festival. Little did she know that Wang Kai had deliberately let her push him down. How could he abide by the rules of the Ethereal Lamp Mystery Festival? Sweet Sound chuckled softly and stood up very generously. She said seductively, "Little brother, how about we guess the riddles?" "Guess the riddles?" Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He stood up slowly, patted his robe, and turned to put his hands behind his back. He smiled faintly and said, "It's just a simple riddles. It's not that I want to boast, but Ben Shao has solved all the riddles in the world since he was in his mother's womb. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points." "Humph, you're so arrogant." Suddenly, a voice full of displeasure sounded, which immediately made Wang Kai's eyes freeze. Chapter 347. A silver-robed old man with white eyebrows was sitting in front of the table. On the table, there was a pill bottle and a piece of paper. Other than that, there was nothing else. Moreover, it was extremely quiet around the old man's lantern riddle table. There was no one there to guess the riddle. Compared to other places, it was like a different world. What does it have to do with you whether I'm arrogant or not? Don't think that just because you're older, this young master won't beat you up. The number of older generation masters who died under this young master's hands is as numerous as the carps crossing the river. So, this young master advises you to be more polite. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the third-grade Celestial Emperor realm." Swoosh! As soon as his voice fell, many cultivators and even alchemists in the surroundings looked over. Their expressions were strange and disdainful as they looked at Wang Kai. Who is this guy? How dare he go against old Monster He? Does he want to die? He really doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and the depths of the earth. Every year, old Monster He comes here, and he only throws out one riddle. However, no one has ever guessed it correctly. Over the past few hundred years, he has subdued countless slaves and experts. Just his slaves alone are comparable to a first-rate power. I heard that even an immortal emperor was taken in as a guard by old Monster He. Hearing the discussions of the numerous alchemists and cultivators from various provinces, Miao Yin's eyes rapidly flickered. A cold glint suddenly appeared and disappeared. Soon after, she swayed her body and walked to the front of old Monster He's table. Turning to look at Wang Kai, she smiled seductively and said, "Young master, do you dare to guess the riddles here?" Those below the Immortal King realm are not qualified to guess my riddle." Old Monster He snorted disdainfully. Wang Kai raised an eyebrow when he heard this. He looked at the old man. He wasn't wearing a mask. The other alchemists who had set up the lantern riddles had also shown their true faces. They wanted to recruit experts as servants, and did it so openly. It was really pretentious. Thinking of this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders with a disdainful expression. With his hands behind his back, he walked towards old Monster He's table and said indifferently, "Ben Shao is untalented. I am merely at the Immortal Emperor realm. Please enlighten me." Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, old Monster He and the others were shocked. It's actually a Celestial Emperor. Even Miao Yin widened her beautiful eyes. She suddenly regretted finding trouble with Wang Kai. She had just reached the peak of the Saint Realm, but Wang Kai had already broken through the Saint Realm and stepped into the Immortal Martial Realm. You are not allowed to use your cultivation base in the Misty Lantern riddles. This immortal pill can't violate the rules of the Misty Lantern riddles. Since you said that you are a Celestial Emperor, this immortal pill will give you a chance to guess the riddle. If you lose in the end and your cultivation base has not reached the Immortal Emperor realm, you should be very clear about the consequences, right? Old Monster He sneered. What consequences can there be? Once he loses, he will have to consume the poison pill refined by old Monster He. If he consumes it, even if he can escape, he will still die in the end. That's right, no alchemist in the immortal martial domain will detoxify him. Hearing what the others said, Wang Kai couldn't help but sneer. He reached out his hand and flipped the paper over. After a casual glance, he laughed disdainfully. Such a simple riddle, and you have the nerve to show it off? At the same time, the others also looked at the riddle. This flower has never been planted since ancient times. It will only bloom in the middle of winter. It has no roots and no leaves. It's really strange. When the spring wind blows, it will return to the sky and hit something. Everyone frowned. One had to admit that old Monster He's riddle was really hard to guess. It was the same today. No wonder no one was willing to go to his place. Just guess it, old Monster He said indifferently. In the eyes of Ben Shao, this riddle is just a child's trick. Ben Shao was already tired of it when he was young. But, if Ben Shao can guess it, what price will you have to pay? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Swoosh! As soon as the words left his mouth, Old Monster Hay's eyes turned cold. He flipped his hand and pushed the pill bottle to the center of the table. He said coldly, "This pill is called the spirit-building pill. It can help an expert of the immortal martial realm to condense a perfect Yuan spirit clone before the immortal Emperor realm. It's actually the spirit-building pill. Immortal level heaven-grade pill. In the immortal martial realm, only those at the immortal Emperor realm can cultivate a complete Yuan spirit clone. If one consumes this pill, they will be invincible among those at the same level." Everyone exclaimed in surprise. The cultivators of the various provinces all rushed over like duck. Even the alchemist's eyes were filled with fanaticism. What's the use of a mere spirit-building pill? Even if it's the second spirit origin pill, Ben Shao can easily refine it. Such a trashy thing, don't take it out and embarrass yourself. Wang Kai snorted with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Bragging? Braggart! This kid really knows how to brag. In an instant, everyone was filled with disdain. In the entire immortal martial realm, only the ethereal pill immortal could refine the second spirit origin pill. Yet, he said that he could refine it at will. He really knew how to brag. Moreover, the spirit-building pill was a heaven-grade immortal level pill. Although it couldn't be compared to the second spirit origin pill, it could still be considered as one of the top 3 immortal pills in the immortal martial realm. It was actually said that it was worthless by Wang Kai. It was indeed a little hateful. Kid, just based on the words you said just now, whether you are at the immortal Emperor realm or not, you are destined to die. Quickly make a guess. Old Monster Black said with a cold look in his eyes. As an arrogant alchemist, how could he allow others to humiliate him like this? However, Wang Kai still didn't buy it. With his hands behind his back, he said with a smile, "If Ben Shao wins, you will strip naked and run around the ethereal mountain for 3 days. Moreover, you will say that you want to consummate your marriage. How about it? Run around the ethereal mountain without wearing anything? And say, 'I want to consummate my marriage'?" Everyone's mouth twitched when they heard this. They didn't expect this person to be so ruthless. If Old Monster Black really did that, wouldn't he lose all his face? If he wanted to establish himself in the immortal martial realm in the future, he would be reduced to a laughingstock. Alright, this pill immortal agrees. Make a guess. Old Monster Hay's face was ashen. He gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. He spat out every word. From this, it could be seen how angry Old Monster Black was. The answer to the riddle is the snowflake. You can fulfill your promise now, Wang Kai said in a rather indifferent tone. Chapter 348. Snowflake. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. However, after thinking for a while, they suddenly reacted. No one has planted this flower since ancient times. How can snowflake be planted? It will bloom before winter. Once winter comes, snowflakes will fall. Moreover, snowflakes are indeed rootless and leafless. When spring comes, snowflakes will naturally disappear. It's really wonderful. Wonderful. This kid is really a great talent. I admire, ugh. A middle-aged man was halfway through his praise when he shut his mouth tightly. Countless pairs of eyes in the surroundings looked at Old Monster Hay in an extremely strange manner. At this moment, Old Monster Hay's face was purplish-black, as if he had just come out from a charcoal kiln. The killing intent and anger in his eyes were extremely obvious. His tightly clenched fists made cracking sound. From this, it could be seen that Wang Kai's guess was correct. Moreover, after everyone's guesses and explanations, he could not distort the answer. Old Monster Hay, why don't you take off your clothes and run around the ethereal mountain? What are you waiting for? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and laughed mockingly. Swoosh. Such words caused Old Monster Hay's face to darken. He stared coldly at Wang Kai and secretly transmitted his voice. Kid, don't go overboard. This pill immortal's position in the immortal martial domain is not something you can shake. Quickly kneel in front of everyone and beg this pill immortal to accept you as his disciple. Otherwise, Hearing such a voice transmission, Wang Kai's eyebrows twitched. He immediately flipped his palm and slammed it on the table. He scolded sternly, "How dare you? The Ethereal Lantern Festival has a clear rule that no one is allowed to use any cultivation method. It's fine if you don't admit your defeat, but you actually used a voice transmission to threaten Ben Shao? Aren't you afraid of going overboard by acting tough to such an extent?" Swoosh. Hearing this, Old Monster Hay's eyes widened in anger. He gritted his teeth and refuted while breathing heavily, "Nonsense. This pill immortal has participated in the Ethereal Lantern Festival and already. Great art of possession." Buzz. Suddenly, a ray of golden light flashed in Wang Kai's eyes. Immediately, Old Monster Hay's consciousness was suppressed to the ground. His eyes were empty and he did not move at all. It was as if he had become a fool. "So what if you are a Dan immortal? How dare you act tough in front of Ben Shao when your combat power is so low?" Wang Kai sneered disdainfully in his heart. He then controlled the puppet with his mind. Swish. Swish. Then, under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Old Monster Hay began to take off his clothes. In less than 10 breaths, he was completely naked. In the end, she squatted on the ground and hopped around like a frog. She kept shouting, "Live well, your body is great. I want to consummate my marriage with a man." Puff, ha 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 ha. "You don't say, Old Monster Hay's body is indeed not bad. Ah, I'm so embarrassed. But that old black monster does have some capital. Ah." In an instant, everyone could not help but laugh out loud. Among them, many women were even secretly sizing him up with flushed faces. "Humph! What are you laughing at? Old Monster Hay has kept his promise. Is he not worthy of our respect?" An old man snorted coldly. "That's right. Old Monster Hay's noble character is indeed worthy of our respect." A middle-aged man exclaimed in admiration. Little did they know that Old Monster Hay's current state was due to the possession technique. When Old Monster Hay recovers and hears of such a noble character, who knows what he will think? At the same time, there were many gazes in the crowd that were filled with cold, killing intent as they stared at Wang Kai. It was as if there was a great hatred between them. These people were Old Monster Hay's subordinate. Wang Kai naturally took in all of this. However, he did not pay too much attention to it. He shrugged his shoulders and sighed helplessly. Old Monster Hay is indeed magnanimous. Ben Shao admits that he is inferior. I admit that I am inferior. Swish. With a flip of his hand, he kept the pill bottle on the table and was about to leave with his hands behind his back. Wait. Your agreement with Old Monster Hay did not include the spirit-building pill. Quickly put it down. Yes, quickly put down the spirit-building pill. Just a moment ago, you said that the spirit-building pill was worthless. Now you're reaching out to take it. Kid, do you have any shame? With that group of people taking the lead, the rest of the crowd immediately voiced out to stop him. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. With a rather playful smile, he said, "Ask Old Monster Hay how he gave the pill to Ben Shao." However, before the crowd could ask, under the control of Wang Kai, Old Monster Hay, who was frog-hopping in the distance, turned his head and loudly said, "Give the pill to him. If this Alchemy Celestial's pill is able to let this young master rinse his mouth, this Alchemy Celestial will be extremely honored." Swish. These words instantly caused the faces of the crowd to stiffen. The expressions of Old Monster Hay's subordinates were extremely astonished at this moment. They never imagined that Old Monster Hay would actually do such a thing. "Did you guys hear me clearly? Oh, that's right, you were the one who shouted the loudest just now. Where is your riddle? Ben Shao wants to make a bet with you. Hey, don't run. Run your uncle. Weren't you pretty good at acting tough just now? Wang Kai shouted nonstop, causing the cultivators from the various provinces who came to participate in the Lantern Riddle Festival to widen their eyes one after another. Their faces were filled with disbelief. They had never seen the scene of an alchemist running away with a riddle. Sigh, to think that Ben Shao is proficient in both civil and military matters. However, in this world, there is no one who can match him. It's really lonely and sad. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed again and again. With a flip of his hand, he kept the spirit-building pill and walked away with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Such a scene caused the corners of the crowd's mouths to fiercely twitch. However, no one dared to stop Wang Kai, causing everyone to make way for him wherever he passed. Damn bastard! Why is he so difficult to deal with? Damn it! And that old black monster, Miaoyin, really looks down on him. He actually fulfilled his promise. Miaoyin's beautiful eyes blinked. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger. Especially when she looked at Wang Kai's handsome back, she was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. I absolutely can't let him go so easily. Miaoyin clenched her silver teeth and secretly thought. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a cold light. Swaying her body, she chased after Wang Kai. Little girl, wasn't Ben Shao too generous to you just now? Do you still want to follow and play tricks with Ben Shao? Wang Kai's footsteps suddenly stopped. He turned around and looked at her coldly. Whoosh! Miaoyin was suddenly scared to the point that her heart trembled. The pretty face hidden under the mask was also deathly pale. She smiled unnaturally and said, Young Master Wang, what are you talking about? I just want to guess the riddle with you. I really admire young Master's wit in solving the riddle just now. Do you admire me a lot? This is also normal. Who asked Ben Shao to be so refined and stand at the peak of the world? However, if you want to follow Ben Shao, how can you not pay a price? At the end of his words, Wang Kai had already walked towards Miaoyin with a mocking smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience and 10 bragging points. Chapter 349. Had he already escaped? Swish. Old Monster Hay and the middle-aged deacon's eyes darkened. With a flash of their bodies, they grabbed the young man's arms from both sides. Was he dressed in white and wearing a silver ghost mask? Old Monster Hay questioned sternly. The middle-aged deacon's face also turned ashen as he berated. Was he a young man who looked to be 16 or 17 years old and had more than 10 servants with him? Faced with such a reckless questioning, the young man immediately grimaced in pain. He kept sucking in cold air and his body trembled as he said, Seniors, can you let me go first? Speak quickly. Bang. Old Monster Hay's face was filled with anger when he saw this. He immediately slapped the young man until his body bent over. If it wasn't for the middle-aged deacon holding his arm, the young man would have fainted on the spot. Reporting to the two seniors, the evil person who used force earlier was indeed wearing a silver ghost face mask. His attire was also the same as what Senior Old Monster Hay had described. Although we were unable to see his appearance due to the mask, from his voice and body's characteristics, he should be quite young. The young man trembled as he spoke. It was indeed that bastard. He actually dared to use a strange technique to control my pill. Cough cough. Halfway through his sentence, Old Monster Hay suddenly shut his mouth. Looking at the strange gazes from the surrounding people, he was instantly enraged. If he hadn't recovered in the end, he would probably still be running around naked right now. Old Monster Hay, you said that the person who used force without permission had a strange technique to control people? The middle-aged deacon asked with a gloomy face. Old Monster Hay was stunned when he heard this. Suddenly, his eyes widened as he looked at him in surprise. He asked in astonishment, "Could it be that you also—" "That's right. The thief who controlled me is the infamous murderous demon Wang Kai in the immortal martial domain," the middle-aged deacon said sternly. Swish. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed drastically. Fear and uneasiness flashed in their eyes, especially the young man and old man who were beaten up by Wang Kai. At this moment, they were so scared that their bodies were trembling and their faces were pale as they fled. Heavens! It's actually that murderous demon Wang Kai. Why did he come to the Misty Lamp Riddle Assembly? With his lawless style, wouldn't our lives be in danger? Old Monster Black and the middle-aged deacon looked at each other and scolded in unison, "Shut up, all of you! Since he dares to behave atrociously in the Misty Light Riddle Assembly, he is destined to bring about his own destruction." The middle-aged deacon sneered. Old Monster Hay's face was also terrifyingly dark. He snorted, "Fan Zhou's female monarch and the supreme Taoist sect leader Di should be at Misty Pill Immortal's place, right? That's good. Let's find the Fan Prefecture's empress and demand justice. Let's go." Whoosh. As Old Monster Hay left with his group of experts, the middle-aged deacon was filled with killing intent. He said coldly, "Let's report this matter to Lord Ethereal Pill Immortal. Coincidentally, Fan Zhou's empress will appear and take down that bastard Wang Kai." Whoosh. When the crowd saw Old Monster Black and the middle-aged deacon leave, they couldn't help but look at each other and whisper to comfort each other. If that brat is really Wang Kai, as the holy son of the Endless Treasures Pavilion, with the help of the Fan Prefecture's empress, he should surrender, right? Of course. No matter what, Wang Kai is the holy son of the Endless Treasures Pavilion. How would he dare to disobey the orders of the Endless Treasures Pavilion's leader? That's right. Moreover, sect leader Di is also at Ethereal Mountain. No matter how powerful Wang Kai is, he won't be able to do much. That's right. Why don't we go and take a look? Let's go. Then, many cultivators and alchemists from various states walked towards the peak of the mountain at the same time. In an instant, the bustling Misty Lamp Riddle Assembly became cold and cheerless. At the same time, behind a huge mountain rock, Wang Kai was holding Miao Yin's waist and pressing her against the rock. "You? Wang Kai, do you really want Miao Yin?" Miao Yin's breathing was rapid. Her face was flushed and her eyes were full of lust. Her beautiful face was like a lotus flower that had just emerged from the water. She was indescribably beautiful. Upon hearing that, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. His hands relaxed slightly and extended to her back to protect her. "Little girl, you've gone against Ben Shao time and time again. Shouldn't you pay some interest now? If you really want Miao Yin, you have to become the Arhat of the Joyful Buddha Temple. In the future, you can only love Miao Yin and practice the cultivation techniques of the Joyful Buddha Temple with her." Miao Yin pursed her lips tightly. The lust in her eyes became more intense. She was panting heavily and it was obvious that she was reaching her limit. For Miao Yin, who had practiced the cultivation techniques of the Joyful Buddha Temple, this desire was the most fatal. To become the Arhat of the Joyful Buddha Temple? And to practice the Buddhist doctrine? To meditate and recite scriptures? What made Wang Kai's face even more gloomy was that he could only love her. "Little girl, do you think Ben Shao will agree with you? Or rather, do you have the qualifications to negotiate with Ben Shao? If it weren't for the fact that you still have some beauty, just based on the way you played with this young master just now, you would have already died. Do you know that?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, Miao Yin's eyes darkened. The lust in her eyes also lessened. She originally thought that being together with Wang Kai was not a bad thing. After all, Wang Kai's talent was absolutely at the level of a demon. His actions had shocked the 6 states and 1 island. Such a man was the best candidate for dual cultivation that Miao Yin had hoped for. However, given Wang Kai's personality, how could he be willing to practice Buddhism? However, although Miao Yin was disappointed at the moment, she was more regretful. She regretted making an enemy of Wang Kai. Now that she was in a desperate situation, it was impossible for her to escape unscathed. Thinking of this, Miao Yin tightly pursed her lips and said, "Then you can have Miao Yin. Miao Yin has no ability to stop you. I only hope that you can give that drop of Saint's blood essence to Miao Yin." Saint's blood essence? Wang Kai immediately raised his eyebrows. He did not expect that she was still thinking about that drop of blood essence. He could not help but ask curiously, "Now that you have reached the peak of the Saint realm, why do you still need that drop of blood essence?" No, that drop of blood essence was left by Huilian, the saintess of the joyful Buddha temple 1,000 years ago. Her talent was one of the strongest 1,000 years ago. Her bloodline could even reach the level of Buddha. If I can merge with her blood essence, Miao Yin's bloodline will definitely reach the 9th level. At that time, breaking through to the immortal martial realm will be just around the corner. Miao Yin tightly pursed her lips and said. She had already accepted her fate. Saintess Huilian? That godly spirit that they met in the remains of Dragon Mountain? Wang Kai's expression was extremely strange. That godly spirit had already been destroyed by Ren Huanhuan. He did not expect that her bloodline would be so powerful. Chapter 350. No problem. That drop of essence blood is useless in Bencheo's eyes, so I can give it to you, Wang Kai said with a casual smile. He turned his hand and took out the drop of essence blood of Holy Maiden Huilian. Buzz. With the appearance of a drop of crimson essence blood, a rich and extremely tempting aura suddenly floated in the air. Smelling the pungent aura, Wang Kai suddenly felt his throat become more and more dry, and his heart pounded non-stop. This essence blood contains the poison of desire. If I directly injected it into Miao Yin's body, wouldn't it be more enjoyable? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled. He didn't know why, but such an idea suddenly appeared in his mind. However, due to the poison of the essence blood, Wang Kai didn't react at all, nor did he want to resist. As soon as he thought of it, he forced the drop of essence blood into Miao Yin's body. Miao Yin's pretty face suddenly changed. She didn't expect Wang Kai to do this. Now that the essence blood had merged into her body, it was like a raging fire, burning fiercely. Young Master Wang, shouldn't you have turned into a gentleman and left after Miao Yin admitted defeat? Or humiliated Miao Yin once, and then let go and leave? Why did you do this? Miao Yin finally panicked. She clenched her silver teeth and couldn't control herself. After seeing how Wang Kai treated Bai Yanyan, Miao Yin had the idea of admitting defeat, and wanted to escape from the danger of Wang Kai's invasion. After all, although the immortal goddess Bai Yanyan had admitted defeat after playing with Wang Kai, she had still been taught a lesson by Wang Kai. In the end, she had left as if nothing had happened. But now, why was it different? Even if Wang Kai was an extremely talented genius, and also had a great reputation in the immortal martial domain, in the end, he couldn't cultivate Buddhism, and he couldn't only love Miao Yin in this case. Miao Yin was absolutely unwilling to do that kind of thing with Wang Kai. However, these words were another thought in Wang Kai's ears. He absolutely didn't expect that Miao Yin's purpose in the end was to learn from Bai Yanyan and admit defeat so that he would let her go. Wang Kai's face suddenly became as dark as ink. He raised his hand and took off Miao Yin's golden mask. Looking at that peerless face, his mood suddenly soared. He clenched his teeth and sneered. This young master didn't do anything to Bai Yanyan because she only cared about the safety of the entire nine-tailed fox clan. She has a strange flame, but she can still value family so much. This young master admires her. Of course, if she dares to offend this young master again, then this young master won't show mercy. Just like you've played tricks on this young master time and time again. If I don't teach you a lesson, then wouldn't this young master become a toy that you can play with as you please? Swoosh. Immediately, Wang Kai's body shook, and he was completely naked. You tried to kill Benshao several times. What I'm doing to you now is just a punishment. Why do you feel guilty? However, you have two choices now. 1. Apologize with your death. 2. Obey. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered in a mocking manner. Swoosh. As the sound of Wang Kai's voice faded, terror flashed through Miaoyin's eyes. Only now did she truly regret making Wang Kai her enemy. But when she thought of his style of doing things in the immortal martial realm, she knew that Wang Kai was the one who had always done things. Those who were his enemies basically didn't survive, and they were all cruelly killed. No matter how beautiful a woman was, he wouldn't be merciful. Now that she had obtained the essence blood of Holy Maiden Huilian, it was difficult to suppress it for a long time by relying on her cultivation method. What's more, if she could refine the essence blood, reaching the immortal martial realm in the future was just around the corner. Even without the temptation of such an achievement, Miao Yin didn't want to die. I obey. Miao Yin seemed to have used up the last of her strength. She bit her red lips and said in a disorderly manner. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. His expression was full of disdain. He sneered, "You did all of this yourself. Don't blame Benshao." Ugh! Following a low groan, a scene that made one's blood boil appeared behind the big rock. Ethereal Mountain, on the peak of the mountain. Within a large pavilion, there were close to 100 experts seated within. At the head of the table was a white-haired old man in a silver robe. He looked amiable. He was the master of the ethereal mountain, the ethereal pill immortal. At the seat of the head below him was the sovereign Dao Sect's master Diyin. He wore a black robe that seemed mysterious and imposing, and he always carried a simple and broad sword on his back. His appearance was handsome and devilish to the extreme, and his bearing seemed extremely refined as well. Opposite Diyin was the Empress of the Fan State. She was wearing a white robe. Her appearance was peerless and her temperament was otherworldly. She was like a cold and arrogant fairy. Behind her stood a young man and a young woman. The rest were also the masters of the major forces and the strongest generation that had broken through the seal. For example, the holy sons and holy maidens of the Supreme Dao Sect 1,000 years ago, the holy sons and holy maidens of the treasure-gathering pavilion 1,000 years ago, the four great families of the Wu State, the Gu family and the Lu Yun family of the Spirit State, the Underworld State, the Demon Court of the Demon State, the Blissful Buddhist Temple and the Joyful Buddhist Temple of the Buddha State, and the myriad Demon Palace of the Demon State. Those who could enter this pavilion were at least peak immortal emperors. However, at this moment, the atmosphere within the pavilion was extremely stifling. Everyone's faces were cold and filled with an indescribable feeling. Let old Monster Hay and the deacon of the Alchemy Hall in, the ethereal pill immortal said faintly. As soon as his voice fell, old Monster Hay and the middle-aged deacon, who were waiting outside, looked at each other and walked into the pavilion respectfully. Chapter 351. Hee, I'm not a bastard, but I have 2 golden eggs. Which one do you like? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile. Swish. Such explicit words immediately stimulated Miao Yin's pretty face to become redder. Thinking of the madness with Wang Kai just now, she couldn't help but purse her lips tightly and ridicule in disdain. Your golden eggs are not that good, hee. As soon as her voice fell, Miao Yin's delicate body swayed and immediately turned into a wisp of fragrant wind, drifting away. The peak of the ethereal mountain is where the second spirit origin pill is located. Many forces are present. Miao Yin, I hope you don't come. Miao Yin's voice slowly drifted into his ears, causing Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. He touched his chin and smiled complacently. Not bad, not bad. Even if this woman is scheming, wouldn't it be wonderful if she could calculate everything for Ben Shao? But so what if there are many forces? Swish. Wang Kai slowly closed his eyes. Relying on the bloodline contract, he sensed the traces of Prince Jinduo and the others. When he found that they were all guessing riddles on the mountain at this moment, he withdrew his mind. Old Bull, Pai Xiu, and Bai He, those three fellows, where did they go? Forget it, with old Ox here, even the Celestial Emperor can't do anything to him. Let's find Jingxian first. If he didn't cheat, would that be Ben Shao's style? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled playfully. Swish. Buzz. In an instant, Wang Kai's eyes condensed, and his divine soul spread out. When it covered the peak of the mountain, a graceful figure in a golden dress came into view. However, before Wang Kai withdrew his divine soul, he saw Jingxian suddenly turn her head, pursed her lips and smiled softly. You lost. Swish. Seeing this, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. He quickly withdrew his divine soul and thought to himself, it can't be considered Ben Shao's loss. Even if Ben Shao used his divine soul, if Jingxian didn't use her cultivation, she wouldn't have discovered it. Yes, that's it. After comforting himself for a while, Wang Kai unscrupulously displayed his cultivation and stepped into the air, heading straight for the pavilion at the top of the mountain. At the same time, Jingxian had already entered the pavilion. She did not wear a mask, and her golden dress fluttered in the wind. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, and her temperament was exceptional. The moment she entered, she attracted the attention of all the peak experts. Her temperament did not lose out to the Fan Prefecture Empress. Even the many saintesses present felt ashamed of their inferiority. Jingxian, Patriarch, she is the Supreme Tao Sect's Holy Maiden, Jingxian. The Spirit Celestial Saintess said coldly. Although the Supreme Vitality Sealing Needle had been taken out, her injuries were still not completely healed. For a moment, her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. The Spirit Immortal Saintess' fragile appearance made the Li family's patriarch even more furious. It could be said that the strongest person in the Li family was the Spirit Immortal. Moreover, Ling Xian had already reached the level of a celestial emperor. She would be the future pillar of the Li family. How could he allow her to be bullied like this? Thinking up to here, the Li family's ancestor abruptly slammed the table and stood up. He furiously berated in a stern voice, Jingxian, you lowly servant girl, do you know your crime? Swoosh. The moment these words were spoken, it immediately attracted the gazes of many peak factions. They were not looking at Jingxian, but at the Supreme Tao Sect's sect master, Diyin. No matter what, Jingxian was the Supreme Tao Sect's holy maiden. It was indeed inappropriate to insult her like this in front of the sect master. However, Diyin was not angry. He still had a gentle smile on his face as he looked indifferently at the Li family's patriarch. He said softly, Don't be angry, Immortal Emperor Li. I will give you an explanation. Swoosh. Suddenly, a silver needle pierced out from Jingxuan's jade-like hand and directly attacked the furious Li family's patriarch. Don't be rude. Clang. Clang. Sect Master Diyin frowned slightly when he saw this. He waved his hand and stopped the silver needle on the ground. He looked at the Li family ancestor, who was so frightened that his forehead was covered in sweat, and a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. She's actually an immortal emperor. The Li family's patriarch's expression suddenly changed. His anger from before instantly dissipated, and cold sweat broke out on his back. Even though he was at the immortal emperor level, in the end, he was only a pill celestial. His battle strength was definitely inferior to a true immortal emperor. If you dare to speak rudely again, Jingxian will definitely kill you, Jingxian said coldly. Then, with her hands behind her back, she walked in front of the pill celestial. Such a situation caused many experts to have extremely strange expressions. As the Supreme Tao Sect's holy maiden, Jing Xian actually didn't take the initiative to greet Diyin when she saw him. Instead, she chose to directly ignore him. Senior Misty, this junior is here to find the second origin spirit. Haha, Jingxian, apologize to the Li family's spirit immortal holy maiden first before discussing the matter of the second origin spirit pill. Before Jingxian could finish speaking, Diyin interrupted her with a light smile. He still did not show the slightest bit of anger. Such magnanimity immediately caused the experts present to sigh in admiration in their hearts. If it were them, they would have already punished their own juniors who were so rude. Jingxian will not apologize. If there's a chance, Jingxian will definitely kill him. Moreover, I will not give him any chance to escape. Jingxian said indifferently. She didn't even look at Diyin. She continued to face the pill celestial with an extremely calm gaze. Bang! Suddenly, a woman in a black dress behind Diyin flashed out. She pointed at Jingxian and reprimanded. Impudent! How dare you be so rude to the sect master? Do you think that no one in the Supreme Tao sect can control you? The cultivation technique you cultivate is from the Supreme Tao sect. The resources you cultivate are also from the Supreme Tao sect. Now that you've become an immortal emperor, do you think that you can disregard sect master Diyin? The Supreme Tao sect's holy maiden also stepped forward and reprimanded with an ashen face. Whoosh, whoosh. However, what welcomed them wasn't Jingxuan's response, but 2 silver cold needles. You, the Supreme Tao sect's holy maiden and holy maiden, were shocked. They were only peak immortal emperors. How could they fight against Jingxian, who was at the immortal emperor level? Clang! Diyin raised his arm and waved it gently. The 2 silver needles were once again intercepted and fell to the ground. He looked at Jingxuan's back and said softly, Jingxian, I'll give you one more chance. Apologize to the Li clan's holy maiden. Whoosh! As soon as his words were spoken, it made the other sect masters even more respectful and impressed. He was still able to remain calm even after being so presumptuous. No wonder he was called a gentleman. Diyin, don't you think that you're very arrogant for stopping Jingxian from killing those who deserve to die many times? If it wasn't for Jingxian's husband, Wang Kai, who wanted to kill you, do you know that Jingxian would have already fought with you? Jingxian said coldly. Finally, she turned around and looked at Diyin with a cold gaze. Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, the expressions of all the experts changed abruptly, and then their expressions became extremely interesting. They truly never expected that as the holy maiden of the Supreme Tao sect, Jingxian would actually challenge the sect master of the Supreme Tao sect, Diyin, for Wang Kai. I've made a fool of myself. It's my fault for not disciplining her properly. Once I capture Jingxian and bring her back to the Supreme Mountain, I'll definitely discipline her properly. Then, I'll personally bring her to apologize one by one. Diyin slowly stood up and cupped his fists towards everyone present. Oh, you're pretty good at acting. You even want to capture Bencheo's wife? Diyin, do you think that your life is too long? Suddenly, a disdainful chuckle sounded from outside, causing everyone's expression to change abruptly. Chapter 352. Wang Kai. Swoosh. With his hands behind his back, Wang Kai stepped into the pavilion with an inexplicable smile on his face. His white robe fluttered even though there was no wind. His face was handsome, but the corners of his mouth were still curled up in a cold smile. Die! Swoosh! 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 In an instant, the celestial emperor ancestors of the 5 strongest families in the Myriad Demon's Palace, the celestial emperor ancestors of the 4 great families of Wu Province, and even the celestial emperor ancestor of the Li family, a total of 10 celestial emperors, charged at Wang Kai with murderous intent. They did not care about the dignity of the older generation and wanted to kill Wang Kai in an instant. Did Ben Shao allow you to move? Go back to where you came from. Restriction, all living beings are equal. Buzz. Suddenly, Wang Kai spread out the myriad formation restriction map with a flip of his hand. He infused all the spiritual stones and even the soil in the world in the palm into the formation restriction map. A milky white mist instantly filled the entire pavilion, causing the 10 celestial emperor patriarchs who were attacking to freeze. Their faces were filled with shock. It's a restriction. My cultivation realm is 3rd grade celestial emperor. This, regardless of who it was, as long as they were in the pavilion, their cultivation base had dropped to the level of a 3rd grade immortal emperor, the same as Wang Kai. Even the Empress of Fan Province and Di Yin were not spared. Such a situation instantly caused terror to appear in the eyes of all the experts. Never had they imagined that this kid, Wang Kai, had actually cultivated the restrictions of formations to such a terrifying extent. Wang Kai, why aren't you dispelling the formation restriction? The Empress of Fan Province's eyes were filled with coldness. If Wang Kai had not appeared, she would not have to give the other forces an explanation. However, there was no turning back now. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and glanced at her indifferently. He sneered and said, "Little girl, don't worry. Ben Shao will teach you a lesson later." Whoosh! Under the enraged expression of the Fan Zhou female emperor, Wang Kai's figure flashed as he appeared in front of the Li family ancestor. Waving his palm, he directly smashed the Li family ancestor's face into smithereens as his body flew backwards. CKU. Weren't you very good at acting tough just now? How dare she insult Benchao's wife? Today, this young master wants to see just how many king heads you have. Wang Kai's expression was ice-cold, and his tone was extremely cold. As his words fell, he flipped his hand and captured the Li family ancestor. Bang! Crack! Wah! Suddenly, Wang Kai punched out, instantly smashing the Li family ancestor's head into pieces. Blood, flesh, and white brain matter splattered in all directions. Congratulations to host for successfully killing a level 9 Dan Immortal Expert, gaining 150,000 experience. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through to the 5th grade Immortal Emperor realm. Buzz. At this moment, everyone was already dumbfounded. Before they could react, they found that their own aura had increased by 2 grade. Such a strange situation caused everyone to be even more shocked. Your cultivation. What the hell is it? Bang! The Golden Dragon Clan's immortal emperor exclaimed, but before he could finish his words, Wang Kai appeared in front of him in a flash and smashed his head into smithereens. Congratulations to host for successfully killing a level 9 Immortal Emperor Expert, gaining 130,000 experience. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade Immortal Emperor realm. In an instant, 2 Immortal Emperor realm ancestors were killed in just a few breaths of time. Such a situation caused the hearts of many experts to tremble violently. Even the Fan Zhou female emperor's beautiful eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. She never imagined that Wang Kai would be so strong. The Myriad Demon's Palace, the 4 great aristocratic families of the Martial State, the Li family of the Sun Moon Island, shall be removed from the immortal martial domain from now on. Wang Kai's expression was extremely ferocious as he glanced at the immortal emperors. Suddenly, his body flashed and he attacked the 4 immortal emperors of the Martial State. Bang! However, Di Yin's body moved and he flipped his hand to meet Wang Kai's attack. In the end, both of them retreated by more than 10 steps. He can actually fight sect leader Di Yin to a standstill. How? How is this possible? Sect leader Di Yin is the #1 expert on the leaderboard of Myriad Immortals, the first in thousands of years. Even if Wang Kai relies on the restriction of the formation to suppress his cultivation to the same level, he can't possibly be a match for sect leader Di Yin. The saint of the Supreme Taoist sect exclaimed. F*CKU. Impossible. How dare you insult Ben Shao's wife? You deserve to die. Spiritual flying dagger technique. Swoosh. Bang. Suddenly, a black soul dagger pierced through Wang Kai's eyes and directly obliterated the spiritual soul of the Supreme Taoist sect's saint. He fell to the ground and died on the spot. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing a peak 9th grade Immortal Emperor. You have received 30,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 7th grade Immortal Emperor realm. Looking at the lifeless saint on the ground, the saintess of the Supreme Taoist sect was so frightened that her face turned pale. Her delicate body fell to the ground and she couldn't stop trembling. He has reached the 7th grade Immortal Emperor realm. What realm is he in? Could it be that he is hiding it? Could it be that killing can help one break through a realm? No. This is impossible. He must be cultivating a demonic cultivation technique. Many experts exclaimed. Among them, the experts from the spiritual state, underworld state, Buddha state, and demon state all stood up and retreated with fear in their eyes, distancing themselves from the experts from the 5 states and demon state. They were afraid that Wang Kai would implicate them. All of you, stand there obediently for Ben Shao. If anyone dares to take half a step out of the pavilion, Ben Shao will kill you first. Wang Kai's gaze swept across the experts, causing their hearts to skip a beat. Wang Kai, how much more impudent do you want to be? Stop immediately! The Empress of the Fan State reprimanded coldly. Her figure flashed as she attacked Wang Kai. Swoosh! Bang! However, Jingxuan's delicate body moved. She waved her jade-like hands and repelled the Empress of the Fan State. She also retreated a few steps. Her beautiful brows furrowed slightly as she said indifferently, "If anyone dares to disrespect Wang Kai here, Jingxian will kill them." Hee, well done. Look after the Empress of the Fan State. Ben Shao will teach her a good lesson later. But now, didn't you just boast that you're going to kill me? Why do all of you look defeated and cowardly now? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered. Many experts were enraged when they heard this. However, they were no match for Wang Kai within the restriction. They could only look at Di Yin. Sect leader Di Yin, please kill this brat here. Many experts cupped their fists and said, "Ask Di Yin for help? Can he protect all of you?" Spirit annihilation. Buzz. Suddenly, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed as several spirits covered the area. This situation caused Di Yin's eyes to flicker rapidly. He immediately flipped his hand and shot out a silver needle that pierced towards Wang Kai. "Did Ben Shao give you any face?" Scram! Wang Kai's eyes flashed coldly as he roared in anger. He could only withdraw his spirits and block the silver needle with a flip of his hand. Bang! The silver needle was instantly sent flying out of the pavilion by Wang Kai's flip of his hand. Di Yin's eyes darkened when he saw this. He stretched out his hand and retrieved the ancient longsword on his back. He said indifferently, "Today, I am here as my second Yuan spirit avatar and cannot use the restriction. Since that is the case, let us fight with force." Second Yuan spirit avatar? Wang Kai's pupils shrank when he heard this. Chapter 353. You. Could it be that you want to abandon the people of the immortal martial domain? Don't forget about the martial manor and the divine martial dynasty in the faraway Fan Prefecture. The Fan Prefecture Empress reprimanded with a frosty expression. Swish. Wang Kai's expression froze when he heard her words. However, he quickly regained his composure as he shook his head and sneered. If such a pretentious prick can save the immortal martial domain, then Ben Shao naturally can as well. In fact, it would be much easier than him. However, Ben Shao doesn't care about the people of the immortal martial domain. What can you do about it? You, the Fan Prefecture Empress's eyes turned cold as boundless killing intent filled the air. She immediately took out a silver longsword and coldly said, "Since that's the case, for the safety of the people of the immortal martial domain, this Empress can only join forces with sworn brother Di-en to kill you here." Swish. Such words instantly caused the eyes of the spectating experts to be filled with an intense battle intent. Immediately, regardless of their cultivation base, all of them stepped into the air with no regard for their own safety. "We are willing to do our part for the immortal martial domain." That's right. Even if we die, we will definitely kill a devil like Wang Kai. There were thousands of experts. The weakest were immortal cultivators and the strongest were immortal emperors. There were also quite a number of immortal emperors. At this moment, all of them were glaring at Wang Kai with rage and killing intent. Even the immortal emperors of the netherworld of the underworld state, the immortal emperors of the demon court of the demon state, immortal emperor Lu Yun of the spiritual state, and the immortal emperor of the Array Dao of the Gu family who hadn't planned to join the battle led their masters into the sky. "Senior Gu, can you break this restriction?" the Fan Prefecture Empress asked coldly. The immortal emperor of the Gu clan shook his head and sighed helplessly. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. It's hard for this emperor to break his restriction. However, other restrictions can swish. Teleportation." Suddenly, before the immortal emperor of the Gu clan could finish his words, Wang Kai's figure flashed as he slashed down with his sword. Against the number one aristocratic clan, who also cultivated the Tao of formations, how could they give him the chance to set up a restriction? "Little bastard, you dare!" One. The Gu family celestial emperor snapped and took out a seven-colored stone. After bursts of seven-colored light flashed, he disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already thousands of meters away. Wang Kai raised his head and coldly stared at the seven-colored stone. He sneered. "As expected of the number one array family in the spiritual state, you can use the space stone to such an extent. Humph. Even if I can't break your restriction, if I want to take you down, it's easy and, puff." The Gu family celestial emperor was stunned. He slowly raised his hand and touched the space between his eyebrows. There was a blood hole the size of a needle. Supreme. Sealing origin. Silence, bang. The Gu family's celestial emperor's body twitched a few times before his body fell from the sky. His aura instantly disappeared. In the distance, Jingxian stood with her hands behind her back. Her golden dress fluttered, and her silver hair reached her waist. She said indifferently, "Jingxian said that if anyone dares to disrespect Wang Kai, they will all die." "Bastard!" The Fan State Empress scolded harshly. How could she tolerate the fact that her only hope was brutally killed by Jingxian? She immediately waved her silver longsword and fought with Jingxian in the void. For a moment they were evenly matched, and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. With a wife like this, Ben Shao has nothing to ask for. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly, and his expression was full of satisfaction. He suddenly turned to look at the many masters standing in the void and suddenly laughed out loud. "Today, Ben Shao will kill all of your original spirit avatars. In the future, I will visit you one by one and kill you all. Divine soul slaughter." 1. Suddenly, several terrifying spirits spread out and enveloped the thousands of experts in the sky. "Don't be presumptuous." Swoosh. Di-Yin's eyes were cold as he scolded. He waved his simple black sword and slashed out tens of thousands of black sword lights. Like a rain of fire and meteors, they covered the sky and covered the earth as they rushed towards Wang Kai. "I knew that you would come and pretend to be a good person again." Scram. Yin-yang reversal palm. 1. Bang bang bang. Rumble. Immediately, a black and white disc appeared on Wang Kai's palm. As it rapidly spun, it repelled all the black sword chi that covered the sky. Moreover, its speed and power increased by a few notches. Di Yin's eyes darkened when he saw this. He could only continuously wave his simple black sword to block the sword chi. For a moment, he simply could not free himself to save the others. Pu bang bang bang. The numerous experts in the sky were completely powerless to resist, and could not even dodge. They were immediately suppressed by Wang Kai's spirit until blood flowed out from their 7 orifices as they roared crazily and died. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 3 9th-grade immortal emperors. You have received a total of 330,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 1st-grade immortal emperor realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 5 5th-grade immortal emperors. You have received a total of 200,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 4th-grade immortal emperor realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 7 3rd-grade immortal emperors. You have received a total of 70,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 8 1st-grade immortal emperors. You have received a total of 80,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 5th-grade immortal emperor realm. Following a series of system notifications, Wang Kai's blood started to boil. He raised his head and laughed. I am the ruler of the immortal martial domain. Who can stop me? Who dares to stop me? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received a total of 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. However, Wang Kai was still a little dissatisfied. He had killed thousands of experts with his soul, including hundreds of immortal emperors, but he didn't receive any experience points. It could be seen that the system gave out rewards from the highest cultivation level. When one reached the immortal emperor realm and was lower than Wang Kai's cultivation level, it was useless even if he killed them. They were all killed. That's Wang Kai. God! How can he be so powerful? All the leaders of the 6 prefectures and 1 island, including the immortal emperors and immortal emperors, none of them survived. This, as expected of the murderous devil Wang Kai. What are you afraid of? Sect leader Di Yin and the Empress of Fanzhou are still around. No matter how strong Wang Kai is, he is definitely not a match for sect leader Di Yin. That's right. Moreover, those experts that were killed were only their 2nd primordial spirit clones. The real primordial spirits are all in their respective forces. What's there to worry about? But the patriarch of the Li family is here in his real body. This damned devil Wang Kai. Many cultivators who were watching the battle from below and didn't dare to go up to the sky to fight Wang Kai shook their heads and sighed. They were shocked by Wang Kai's terrifying strength and means. Among them, some of the experts who wanted to go up to the sky to join in the fun swallowed their saliva and stopped in their tracks. They were secretly glad that they didn't go up to the sky impulsively. Otherwise, wouldn't they die in the hands of Wang Kai? Hee. Now that those weaklings are dead, it's your turn, Di Yin. Ben Shao will definitely torture you. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled coldly. He immediately moved his feet and charged toward Di Yin, who was surrounded by countless sword chi. Chapter 354. Bastard! Wang Kai, do you really want to become a devil that everyone in the world would hate? Clank! Bang bang bang! Far away in the air, the Fan Prefecture matriarch was evenly matched with Jing Xian. She had no way to extricate herself from the battle. Upon seeing so many experts being killed, she was so angry that her countenance turned crazy. Her beautiful countenance was filled with uncontrollable killing intent. And now, upon seeing Wang Kai actually attacking Di Yin, the Fan Prefecture matriarch couldn't help but to think of the calamity that was about to befall the immortal martial realm. She wanted nothing more than to rush over to help. Yet sadly, she had no way to escape from Jing Xian's attacks. Although the Fan Prefecture matriarch's cultivation base was higher than Jing Xian's, due to the all lives equal restriction, their cultivation bases were the same. If the immortal martial domain really faces a calamity, Jing Xian believes he can turn the tide. If he can't, Jing Xian will bring him away from the immortal martial domain. As for the all lives equal you speak of, it has nothing to do with us. Jing Xian coldly spoke. She abruptly waved her hands and shot out several silver needles, causing the Fan Prefecture matriarch to be exhausted from defending. She had no time to help Di Yin at all. At the same time, Wang Kai appeared in front of Di Yin, waving his fists as he laughed in disdain. Di Yin, you trash. Let's see how Ben Shao will destroy all your sword chi. Grand collapsing fist. Bzzz. Bang. Wang Kai abruptly punched out. As a muffled explosion rang out, the black-colored sword chi that filled the air actually vanished into nothingness, as though it had never appeared before. There was no remnant of sword chi, it simply vanished into thin air. Such an evil and cruel martial technique. Wang Kai, for the safety of the immortal martial domain, this seat cannot allow you to live. Di Yin coldly spoke. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he tossed the ancient black sword up into the air. Paragon Dao Art Sword Domain. Bzzz. Swish. In an instant, the ancient long sword transformed into a ball of black-colored sword chi. As it spread out, it directly enveloped the surrounding tens of thousands of meters. From the outside, it looked like a huge black sphere that sealed off the void within tens of thousands of meters. It was impossible to see what was inside. That sect Master Di Yin's ultimate skill, the Supreme Sword Domain. This kid, Wang Kai, is quite formidable. He was actually able to force sect Master Di Yin to utilize the Supreme Sword Domain. However, it's time for his might to come to an end. That's right. For thousands of years, no one had been able to defeat the Supreme Sword Domain. The cultivators of the Misty Mountain looked at the huge black sphere that appeared in the sky and laughed heartily in unison. In the distant void, the Fanzhou Empress and Jing Xian hastily retreated upon seeing this. It seems like this Empress doesn't need to worry anymore. In these thousands of years, elder brother Di Yin has only used the Paragon Sword Domain twice. As long as one is trapped within the Paragon Sword Domain, without elder brother Di Yin's permission, no one will be able to escape. The Fan Prefecture female Empress lightly laughed. The worry between her brows instantly vanished. At this moment, Jing Xian frowned slightly. As the holy maiden of the Supreme Dao sect, she naturally had some understanding of the Supreme Sword Domain. Swoosh! Jing Xian's face was cold as ice as she rushed towards the Paragon Sword Domain. However, she was blocked by the Fan Prefecture female Empress. This situation was exactly the same as when Jing Xian blocked the Fan Prefecture female Empress. The only difference was that the situation had changed. Jing Xian, your talent is not bad. Compared to this Empress, you stepped into the immortal Emperor realm a year earlier. If you are willing to turn over a new leaf, this Empress can spare your life. Elder brother Di Yin will also be magnanimous. The Fan Prefecture female Empress faintly smiled. Jing Xian coldly glanced at her and coldly said, "If Wang Kai dies, there will be no need to wait for the calamity to come. The immortal martial domain will definitely be destroyed." Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, the Fan Prefecture female Empress's eyes narrowed. She couldn't help but think of Wang Kai's drop of blood essence. Back then, when she extracted it from the Supreme Stone Tablet, she couldn't erase it. You know of Wang Kai's background? The Fan Prefecture female Empress coldly asked. Jing Xian's expression froze as a strange light flashed in her eyes. However, she didn't reply. With regards to Wang Kai's background, she naturally didn't know of it. The destruction of the immortal martial domain wasn't because of Wang Kai's background. At the same time, within the supreme sword domain, Wang Kai had an expression of surprise on his face as he surveyed the surrounding black-colored sword qi. He basically couldn't see anything in the outside world. Even his divine sense couldn't see through it. He couldn't help but to send out a palm strike. Bang! When that green-colored palm strike slammed into the boundary of the supreme sword domain, it was directly devoured and dissipated into nothingness. It wasn't a rebound, nor was it dissipated. Rather, it was devoured by the supreme sword domain. There's no need to waste your energy. This seat's supreme sword domain is formed from the Tao I condensed. In the immortal martial domain, once it's unleashed, there's no one who can rival it. Hand over the 5 Emperors Tao token. This Emperor will be benevolent and allow you to become a part of my supreme sword domain. Di-in coldly laughed with a sinister expression. The current Di-in looked as though he was possessed by the devil. That originally handsome face of his was twisted with malevolence. The aura he emitted was no longer gentle and approachable. Instead, it was an extremely cold and sinister aura that was filled with killing intent. As expected of a hypocrite. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai's lips curled in disdain. He shrugged his shoulders and calmly said, Di-in, gentleman-in. TSK, seems like the rumors and good reputation about you aren't true. Bzzz. Pada. With a wave of his hand, the black-colored sword qi in front of him condensed into a black-colored ancient longsword. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's words, his expression turned gloomy as he coldly laughed. Haha, good reputation? Gentleman-in? It's nothing more than a bunch of idiots and ants in the immortal martial domain thinking of themselves. However, this seat really likes such good reputation. You must be envious, right? Envious? Upon hearing this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders in disdain. He then coldly laughed. Di-in, I have to say that your acting is pretty good. Being the strongest person in the immortal martial domain, even if you killed someone, no one would say that you're wrong. Since you're willing to reveal your true face to Ben Shao, could it be that you really think that Ben Shao can't do anything to you? Bzzz. Xiao. Di-in coldly laughed as he brandished his ancient black sword. As he swung his sword, streams of terrifying black-colored sword qi shot towards Wang Kai like shooting stars. Seems like you haven't learned your lesson enough. Palm reversal of yin and yang. Bzzz. As a black and white circular disc appeared, all the sword qi were instantly reflected back. However, the sword qi that was supposed to be directed towards Di-in was instead redirected towards Wang Kai. Such a scene caused Wang Kai to be stunned. No matter what, he didn't expect that Di-in was actually able to reflect the attacks of others. Not only that, after being reflected time and time again by the yin-yang reversal palm, the might of the sword qi had already surpassed its original level. If this continued, it would definitely be hard for Qin Wentian to block it. Even the black-colored sword qi that permeated the entire Paragon sword domain had become increasingly terrifying. You want to borrow the strength of Ben Shao's martial techniques to strengthen your Paragon sword domain? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed as he coldly laughed with a mocking expression. Chapter 355. A look of disdain flashed across Di Yin's eyes when he heard that. With a cold expression, he laughed. Even if it's not the rebound martial technique you used, I can still use your battle qi to strengthen my supreme sword domain. Do you know what that means? You're just an ant from the immortal martial domain. Swoosh. Wang Kai's pupils shrank when he heard that. He could strengthen his supreme sword domain without using the reverse yin-yang palm? Could it be? He couldn't help but recall the previous test. The palm formed from battle qi was completely devoured by the supreme sword domain. If that was the case, didn't that mean that any martial technique, or rather, any method that used battle chi would be ineffective? Instead, it would benefit Diin instead? The supreme sword domain formed by such a supreme sword technique was really powerful. Break this supreme sword domain. Wang Kai frowned as he activated his will. If he couldn't break this supreme sword domain, how could he fight? Could it be that he had to fight hand to hand? Host, with your current martial realm, if you want to break this Dao technique, you will need to spend 300 bragging points. 300? Host, Wang Kai occupation, martial artist, talisman cultivator, formation cultivator auxiliary occupation, alchemist realm, 5th grade immortal emperor cultivation technique, immortal true spirit technique, alchemy codex, spirit codex martial techniques. Teleportation, divine soul suppression, annihilation fist, possession, essence bullet equipment, heaven-reaching pagoda, 9-dragon cauldron, god-punishing brush, 10,000 formation seal diagram bloodline, 9th grade bragging points, 170 experience, 70000900000 inch, that's a total of 130 points. Wang Kai quickly glanced at it and activated his will to close it. Then, he kept his sword and rolled up his sleeve. With a black face he sneered, "Damn it, looks like I can only fight hand to hand." Swoosh. This scene caused Diin to be stunned. Soon after, he angrily berated, "How dare you? Do you think I'll give you? Give your grandpa. Stick out your dog head and let Ben Shao punch you." Wang Kai appeared in front of Diin in an instant. He didn't use any battle chi and only used his physical strength to punch him. Bang! Bang bang bang! After more than 10 consecutive punches, Diin was sent flying while vomiting blood. His nose was smashed and a few of his teeth were broken. "Bastard! Die!" Diin roared furiously. His eyes were filled with deep shame and anger. He immediately waved his hand, causing the surrounding black sword chi to crush towards Wang Kai. Palm against yin and yang. 1. Wang Kai flipped his hand and slapped out. As the black and white disc appeared, it immediately reflected all the sword chi that was crushing towards him. "Hehe, let's see whether you will be beaten to death by Benshao first or Benshao's battle chi will collapse your supreme sword realm." Wang Kai's face darkened as he smiled cruelly. He threw the yin-yang disc into the air, and it floated around him, bouncing back the incoming sword energy. As the sword energy bounced back and forth, the power of the sword energy in the supreme sword realm grew even more ferocious. Thunderous sounds could be heard incessantly. Bang 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 bang! However, Diin was currently being chased by Wang Kai and refused to let go. Wang Kai's reckless fighting style caused even Diin to tremble in fear. However, Diin, who was maintaining the supreme sword realm, had no time to use his full strength to fight with Wang Kai. All the attacks that he used were reflected by the black and white disc. Now, he was exhausted from resisting Wang Kai's physical attack. The two of them chased each other in the supreme sword realm. F***ck your grandpa. Why are you running? Aren't you awesome? Why don't you stop and fight with me? Bang! Bang bang! Wang Kai cursed fiercely. His body flashed as he chased after Diin. Once he got close to Diin, he threw over 10 punches. Diin's muscles and bones were shattered, and his body flipped countless times. B*****starred. B*****starred. Diin roared crazily. He had never been treated like this since he started cultivating. Suddenly, he regretted using his supreme sword domain. If he didn't have to divert his attention to maintain the supreme sword realm, he wouldn't have been chased by Wang Kai. Now, he could only hope that the supreme sword realm was stronger to the point where Wang Kai's martial techniques couldn't reflect it. Buzz, buzz, rumble, rumble, crack, crack. Suddenly, the sword energy in the supreme sword realm became even more terrifying after Wang Kai's palm of reverse yin-yang bounced back. Cracks appeared on the black and white yin-yang disc. It looked like it was about to collapse. Wang Kai's pupils suddenly constricted when he saw this. If this continued, then he would definitely be crushed to death here if he still couldn't kill Diyin. F***ck. Benshao, let's see if you or Benshao will die first. Indestructible fist. Buzz. Suddenly, Wang Kai's expression became crazed and terrifying. The speed of his punches increased by several times. His speed and strength also became more ferocious. Bang! Bang bang bang! In the blink of an eye, Diyin was smashed by Wang Kai's punches. He couldn't control his body and kept retreating. It was difficult for him to dodge or block. At this moment, Wang Kai was also like a demon. His fists were waving nonstop, causing the power of the Supreme Sword domain to completely destroy the yin-yang disc. Even so, Wang Kai didn't stop. He allowed the black sword energy to slash his body and continued to attack Diyin crazily. Poof! Poof poof! Crack! Crack! Diyin was in the same situation as Wang Kai. His bones and tendons broke and his skin exploded. His flesh and blood rolled and splattered like waves. You bang! Rumble! Finally, Diyin's mind was in a mess and there was no light in his eyes. As a result, he couldn't maintain the Supreme Sword realm any longer and it collapsed. As Wang Kai and Diyin's figures appeared before everyone's eyes, the two bloody figures and the white bones that pierced through the air caused everyone's expressions to be extremely astonished. No one had expected such an outcome. Diyin! Wang Kai! The Fan State Empress and Jing Xian exclaimed in unison. Their faces changed and they quickly rushed over. Bang! Bang! However, when they got close to Wang Kai and Diyin, even the Fan State Empress and Jing Xian were pushed back by an unknown force. They couldn't get close to Wang Kai's battle zone. Aren't you good at acting tough? Continue acting tough. The first person in hundreds and thousands of years? You're lucky that you didn't meet Benshao. Bang! Bang bang bang! Give me back your King Junin. Benshao will beat you into a pile of minced meat today. Crack! Crack! Why don't you continue to look down on Benshao calmly? Hee, Benshao will definitely dote on the Fan State Empress later. It's a pity that you won't be alive to see it. Bang bang bang! Diyin's mind had already dissipated and his aura was so weak that he could die at any time. He was like a sandbag, and could only take the beating. F***CKU. You caused Benshao to use such a suicidal martial technique. Wang Kai cursed crazily with his face covered in blood. There wasn't much battle chi left in his body and his strength was on the verge of disappearing. However, he couldn't stop using his martial technique. Once he used the indestructible fist, his attacks wouldn't stop as long as his opponent wasn't destroyed. Moreover, no matter how high the cultivation realm of others was, they couldn't interfere. They could only watch helplessly. It was a method of harming oneself while harming the enemy. It was even more terrifying than the 8 inner hidden gates. Chapter 356. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing a 9th grade immortal emperor. You have received 40,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade immortal emperor realm. As the system notification rang out, Diyin's body exploded into a rain of blood and bone. Even his spiritual soul was destroyed. He could not be more dead. Buzz. When the indestructible endless fist ended, Wang Kai immediately felt exhausted. He fell from the sky, exhausted. Even stepping on the air was difficult for him to do. Wang Kai. Swoosh. Jing Xian's eyes flickered with worry. She hurriedly moved her feet and stopped Wang Kai in the air. She held him in her arms and slowly descended from the sky. Jing Xian. Cough cough. Benshao has suffered from an incurable injury. I'm afraid he will be a cripple for the rest of his life. With your talent, Sai, it will be difficult for Ben Shao to be by your side. Before we part ways, can you promise Ben Shao a favor? Wang Kai's face was covered in blood. His breathing was weak and many of his bones were broken. It was as if he could die at any time. Bastard! Don't talk nonsense. Jing Xian pursed her lips and scolded. However, the tears in her eyes betrayed her feelings. As an immortal emperor, how could she not sense Wang Kai's current situation? Looking at Wang Kai's weak but hopeful eyes, Jing Xian nodded and said gently, Jing Xian can promise you anything. I will be by your side forever. Cough cough. You have to keep your word. Jing Xian, go to Ben Shao's heaven-reaching tower and wait for Ben Shao to recover. Wang Kai's eyes flashed with joy. He raised his arm with great effort and kept Jing Xian in the heaven-reaching tower. Recover from all injuries. Congratulations to the host for recovering from all injuries. The cost is 100 bragging points. Buzz. All of a sudden, Wang Kai's damaged skin and flesh healed, and his bones and tendons recovered in an instant. His skin was as smooth as jade, and it was enough to make any woman jealous. Ha ha! Ben Shao is truly astute. Wisdom and beauty coexist, and he also possesses extraordinary battle prowess. The day he unifies the world is just around the corner. Wang Kai stood on the ground with his hands on his waist. He raised his head and laughed complacently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Especially now, Wang Kai was completely naked. His naked body trembled as he laughed, causing the thing between his legs to sway back and forth. Such a scene and such words immediately caused the mouths of many cultivators to twitch violently. This was even more exciting than Wang Kai killing Di Yin's second primordial spirit clone. All of them found it difficult to imagine why a formidable figure that was capable of annihilating Di Yin's origin spirit clone would be so good at bragging. Why was she so unrestrained and shameless as to leave her body hanging there? You didn't die. Swoosh. The Fanzhou Empress stood in the air as she coldly stared down at Wang Kai. Especially when she saw that he was completely naked, she became even more enraged and berated. Why aren't you putting on your clothes yet? Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but lower his head to take a look. His face immediately darkened when he sensed that many cultivators around him were looking at him with a strange gaze. He became even more speechless. However, an unbelievable scene occurred. Wang Kai flipped his hand and took out his clothes. He slowly put them on and said with a faint smile, "It's your fortune and luck to be able to see Ben Shao's valiant body. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. He's simply too good at bragging. This guy is really despicable." The hearts of many cultivators were filled with disdain. They finally understood how strange Wang Kai's personality was. Di Yin's second primordial spirit clone was killed by you. The calamity of the immortal martial domain is hard to resist. The only thing we can rely on now is the 5 Emperors' Dao plate. Quickly hand over the 2 Dao plates you obtained. Swish. The Empress of Fanzhou floated down from the skies. Her peerlessly beautiful face was filled with coldness. 5 Emperor's Dao plate? Wang Kai put on his clothes and shrugged his shoulders. He had 3 5 Emperor's Dao plates on him. It seemed that the Fan Province Empress didn't know about the one in the Azure Dragon Daoization pool. Little girl, if Ben Shao was you, you would have run away the moment Di Yin died. I wonder where you got the guts to come here and threaten Ben Shao? Wang Kai's expression was filled with disdain. Killing intent flashed in the Fan Province Empress's eyes. She placed her hands behind her back and coldly said, "Wang Kai, you were able to defeat Di Yin because of the formation. Without the formation, you wouldn't even be able to defeat me. What's there to be arrogant about?" Swish. As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's expression changed. Only now did he realize that the all-life's equal restriction had disappeared. His spiritual energy had been depleted and he couldn't maintain the restriction anymore. However, Wang Kai didn't mind it too much. He was already a 6th-grade immortal emperor. Even if the Fan Province Empress was at the peak of the immortal emperor realm, he didn't need to fear her. Did she think that just because the all-life's equal restriction disappeared, she could flaunt her strength? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. His expression was calm as he shrugged his shoulders and smiled faintly. So what? The formation is still a part of one's strength. Furthermore, even if Ben Shao doesn't use the formation, he can still toy with Diyin in the palm of his hand. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. What you killed was merely Diyin's 2nd Yuan spirit avatar. You have never consumed a 2nd Yuan spirit before and don't know the disadvantages of a 2nd Yuan spirit avatar. Just based on the fact that the 2nd Yuan spirit avatar can't use the formation, don't you understand the difference between you and Diyin? The Fan Province Empress sneered disdainfully. Hiss hiss. Wang Kai drew in a deep breath. His countenance was as black as ink as he stared at her. His lips curled into a sinister smile as he said, "Little b****, Diyin was killed by Ben Shao in front of you earlier. Since Ben Shao can destroy his 2nd Yuan spirit avatar, even if his true body came here, he would still have to die." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Upon hearing the notification, Wang Kai's countenance turned even more unsightly. Seems like if he hadn't reached the peak of the immortal emperor realm, he wouldn't be a match for Diyin. Ignorant, foolish. The Fan Province Empress coldly stared at Wang Kai. Her hands were clasped behind her back as she coldly said, "Quickly hand over the 5 Emperors Dao token and this Empress will leave your corpse intact. Don't blame this Empress for being merciless. The calamity of the immortal martial realm cannot be avoided without Diyin. In order to appease his anger, this Empress can only sacrifice you." Swish. As the sound of her voice faded, Wang Kai's eyes abruptly narrowed. His countenance sank as he coldly laughed. Little b****, seems like Ben Shao's temper is still too good to you. Today Ben Shao will first toy with you. In the future, he will kill the only hope of the immortal martial realm, Diyin's true body. Immortal Dao True Spirit Avatar. Chapter 357. Buzz. A figure that looked exactly like Wang Kai floated out of his body. As soon as it appeared, it put its hands behind its back and looked up at the Fan Zhou Empress with an indifferent expression. "Haha, little girl, you used to be as pretentious as my real body. Now that I have appeared, are you prepared to be beaten up?" The true spirit avatar said with a faint smile. Swoosh. Such a scene immediately caused Wang Kai's brows to twitch. He turned in a circle to size up the true spirit avatar. He saw that the true spirit avatar's appearance and actions were similar to his own. Even its pretentious appearance was on point. Humph, snakes and rats are indeed from the same nest. Like the real body, like the true spirit avatar. However, if you want to defeat me with just your true spirit avatar, Wang Kai, are you out of tricks? The Fan Zhou Empress snorted coldly. Hearing this, Wang Kai was about to refute, but before he could say anything, the true spirit avatar beside him had already taken a step forward. "Haha, little girl, don't compare this emperor to that trash. If it wasn't for the fact that he broke through to the immortal emperor realm too late and couldn't make this emperor appear, this emperor would be able to kill you and Diyin with a single hand." The true spirit avatar laughed proudly. Wang Kai's face darkened when he heard this. He frowned and glared fiercely at the true spirit avatar. He sneered and said, You are just Benchao's true spirit avatar. If you dare to be presumptuous again, do you believe that Benchao will take you back and lock you up? Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai, who thought that the true spirit avatar would give in, was disappointed. The true spirit avatar shrugged disdainfully, raised its head proudly and laughed disdainfully. If you have the guts, you can take me back. At that time, I want to see how you will play with this little girl. Haha, it's not that I look down on you, but I'm afraid that you will be the one being played. Hiss. These words instantly caused Wang Kai's face to darken even more, and the corners of his mouth twitched fiercely. He absolutely never imagined that this true spirit clone would actually be so difficult to deal with. Alright, Benchao, I'd like to see how long you can act tough for. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Immediately, he placed his hands behind his back and stood there without saying a word. The true spirit avatar was also looking straight ahead. This caused countless cultivators to be extremely astonished. They originally thought that Wang Kai would have some kind of terrifying means to defeat the Fan Prefecture Empress, but in the end, he actually clashed with the clone. Wang Kai is really a weirdo. Even his doppelganger has the same personality as him. Yes, they are all very hateful. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Wang Kai and his true spirit clone turned around and scolded loudly, "All of you, get out of here! If you dare to talk nonsense and act tough again, I'll definitely beat all of you up." Swoosh. Such a scene immediately caused everyone's eyes to bulge, especially Wang Kai's, and his doppelganger's expressions were exactly the same. Even their tones were indistinguishable. However, due to Wang Kai's ruthlessness and strength, no one dared to get angry. They could only obey and leave the area where they were. Wang Kai, I don't have time to mess around here with you. Quickly hand over the 5 Emperor Dao token. Otherwise, I can personally take it, but I can't guarantee that I can leave your corpse intact. The Fan Prefecture Empress finally couldn't help but speak coldly. She was truly angered by Wang Kai and his doppelganger. Swoosh. As soon as these words came out, Wang Kai and his true spirit avatar's eyes narrowed. Soon after, they looked at each other and said in unison, "Let's stop fighting for now and punish this little girl first." Deal. Swoosh. As his words fell, the true spirit avatar's feet moved. With his hands behind his back, he calmly charged towards the Fan Prefecture Empress and smiled faintly. "Little girl, let's see how Benchao shatters your chest with one slap." Clap clap. Wang Kai immediately clapped his hands, a look of admiration on his face as he smiled and said, "Not bad, not bad. This bragging is pretty good. However, compared to Benchao, it's still a far cry." Congratulations to host for bragging successfully. Received 10,000 experience, 10 bragging points. As the system notification sounded out, Wang Kai instantly understood. It seems that bragging by the true spirit avatar did not give him any reward. Bastard. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless. Die. Buzz. Swoosh. In an instant, the Fan Prefecture Empress's eyes turned cold. She suddenly waved the longsword in her hand and slashed down a silver sword light from the sky. As soon as the sword light appeared, the power contained within it shook the ethereal mountain and even the surrounding area for tens of thousands of miles. The blinding light was like the sun, causing everyone within tens of thousands of miles to be unable to open their eyes. Is this the power of a peak immortal emperor? It's indeed powerful. Just a single sword chi has such power. Wang Kai squinted his eyes slightly, but there was no trace of worry on his face. He seemed very relaxed and at ease. So what if a mere true spirit avatar has the power of a peak immortal emperor? In the end, it's only 3 grades stronger than the original body. However, I'm called the true spirit avatar, which is 9 grades stronger than the original body. The true spirit avatar sneered disdainfully. Buzz. Crack. In an instant, Wang Kai's true spirit avatar waved his hand and instantly shattered the terrifying sword light with his palm. It turned into tens of thousands of rays of light that shot out in all directions. This is the true spirit avatar? It's you. Bang! The Fan Prefecture Empress's beautiful eyes widened when she saw this scene. Her soul and even the depths of her heart were filled with a thick sense of disbelief and shock. She couldn't figure out what a true spirit avatar was. It was actually 9 grades stronger than the original body. Compared to the original spirit doppelganger, it was 6 grades more powerful. Didn't this mean that Wang Kai was absolutely invincible in the immortal Emperor realm? However, before the Fan Prefecture Empress could come to her senses, she was already captured by the true spirit avatar. With a slap, she immediately fainted on the spot. One move. With just one move, the Fan Prefecture Empress' second true spirit avatar was captured. One must know that the Fan Prefecture Empress' second true spirit avatar was also at the peak of the immortal Emperor realm. In addition, the true spirit avatar had the ability to surpass 3 grades. However, it still wasn't a match for Wang Kai's true spirit avatar. Wang Kai saw this scene and wasn't too surprised. The Immortal Tao True Spirit technique could condense a true spirit above the true spirit avatar. It had the ability to surpass the true spirit avatar by 9 grades. It was simply too easy to defeat the Fan Prefecture Empress' second true spirit avatar. It seems that the true spirits of Di-In and the Fan Prefecture Empress are not as simple as the peak of the immortal Emperor realm. However, they are definitely only at the peak of the immortal Emperor realm. Why did the system determine that Ben Shao was still unable to defeat them? Oh well, I'll just have to torture the Fan Prefecture Empress to find out the answer. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the true spirit avatar that had captured the Fan Prefecture Empress. He suddenly waved his hand and recalled the true spirit avatar. Bastard! I haven't toyed with this little girl. Whoosh! Seeing this, the true spirit avatar's face instantly darkened. However, before it could finish speaking, it was recalled by Wang Kai. Plop! Looking at the unconscious Fan Prefecture Empress that had fallen to the ground, Wang Kai instantly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He grinned rather viciously and said, "Little girl, I didn't think that you would have such a day. Hee, Ben Shao will have a good time toying with you." Chapter 358. Heavens! Even the Empress of Fan Province was defeated. In just one move, she was defeated by Wang Kai's avatar. Di-In, the number 1 on the leaderboard of 10,000 immortals, and the number 2 Empress of Fan Province, were both no match for Wang Kai. How is this possible? Don't talk nonsense. Sect Master Di-In and the Empress of Fan Province are only avatars. Their true bodies are stronger. Look, what is Wang Kai doing? He actually took out a chariot. Could it be that he wanted to? Heavens, this is impossible. Heavens, this Wang Kai is really daring. How dare he do this to the Empress? If he really gets his way, then the Empress of Fan Province and Sect Master Di-In, who have been a match made in heaven for thousands of years, will. Many cultivators exclaimed. Their eyes and mouths were wide open as they looked at Wang Kai's actions in disbelief. In front of the dragon ascending carriage, Wang Kai lifted the Empress of Fan Province onto his shoulder. Then, he took out the 10,000 formation seal diagram and sealed off the surrounding area. Little girl, let's see how arrogant you can be today. Ben Shao intentionally sent Jing Xian away. Now, it's time to reap the benefits of sending Jing Xian away, hee. Wang Kai's lips parted into a lewd grin as he waved his hand and parted the bead curtain. Carrying the Fan Zhou Empress, he stepped into the carriage. Whoosh! As the bead curtain scattered, numerous pitch-black formation rune chains penetrated the 10,000 formation seal diagram and sealed the chariot and its surroundings. Let's hang her up first. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled mockingly. With a wave of his hand, he used his spiritual energy to control the formation chains and tied up the Empress of Fan Province's hands. After the Fan Province Empress was hung up, he controlled 2 formation rune chains and tied them around her legs. Soon after, he abruptly pulled them to both sides, causing her legs to hang parallel to each other in the air. Looking at the Fan Zhou Empress who was floating in front of him in the shape of the Chinese character, Wang Kai immediately swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He impatiently moved his hands up and down her body, immediately stripping off her white dress and other coverings. Hiss hiss. When the extremely enchanting body was exposed to the air, Wang Kai immediately took a deep breath. Looking at her extremely alluring body, his blood vessels surged for a moment. This is truly the work of the god. Oh no, this is the best in the world. Wang Kai rubbed his chin and sighed in admiration. He immediately walked behind her and looked at her beautiful silhouette. Suddenly, he couldn't help but slap her. Clap! The ecstasy of the touch made Wang Kai's throat dry up. Just as Wang Kai couldn't bear it anymore and was about to get on top of her, he suddenly stopped unbuttoning his clothes. Swish! The Empress of Fan Province's eyes abruptly opened. Feeling the cold sensation on her body, her eyes were filled with fear as she frantically looked down when she saw that she was actually hung up in such a state, and that she was completely naked. The Empress of Fan Province was instantly enraged as she berated in a stern voice, "Wang Kai, you dare!" Clap! However, what greeted her was 2 rather forceful slaps from Wang Kai. Instantly, her entire body shuddered from the slaps, and she gritted her teeth to the point of making cracking sounds. Why wouldn't Benshao dare? Although this is only your second Yuan spirit doppelganger, it has to be said that the second Yuan spirit pill is indeed extraordinary. However, you need not worry. Once Benshao takes over your doppelganger, he will definitely take over your original body in the future. Yes, even if you want to hide, you won't be able to. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders as he smiled with a rather sadistic expression. Swish! As the sound of his voice faded, the Fan Prefecture female empress was so shocked that she became even more flustered. Her delicate body trembled uncontrollably, causing Wang Kai to crazily gulp down his saliva. Can Benshao assume that you are teasing Benshao? I never imagined that the great Empress of Fan Province would commit such evil acts in broad daylight. Benshao is truly surprised. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he smiled. Bastard! Wang Kai, how dare you treat this Empress in such a manner? Clap! Before the Empress of Fan Province could finish speaking, she was directly interrupted by a slap from Wang Kai as he smiled faintly. Given your cultivation level, it is very simple to break the formation runes restriction. However, you need to think carefully. Benshao can summon his true spirit doppelganger at any time. When that time comes, you will not only be facing Benshao alone. You shameless! If I knew you were so hateful, this Empress would have killed you in Fan Province back then. The Empress of Fan Province's eyes flashed with shock as she bit her lips so hard that her thin lips were bleeding. She never imagined that she would fall to such a state today. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed as he heard her words. He stretched out his hand and lifted her chin as he smiled playfully. Tell me, what other trump cards do you and Dean have? Don't talk about how strong your true body is. In Benshao's eyes, peak immortal emperors are nothing but trash. Such words instantly caused the Empress of Fan Province to be even more furious. However, looking at Wang Kai, who was so close to her and her current situation, she could only tremble with anger as she said, Wang Kai, when you left Fan Province, this Empress gave you the identity of the Emperor of Treasure Trove Pavilion, allowing you to do whatever you want in the immortal martial domain. I have also tolerated your outrageous acts many times, all for the sake of allowing you to grow stronger as soon as possible. Swoosh! Wang Kai directly waved his hand to interrupt her. He was secretly filled with disdain towards her words. His expression was indifferent as he smiled and said, "I'm sorry, Ben Shao will not live under anyone's arrangements, nor will he restrict his freedom because of rules. So, even if you think you are indebted to Ben Shao, it's just a one-sided assumption. Fine, then you should at least think about the lives of the immortal martial domain, right? Do you know that if Di Yin's second Yuan spirit clone is destroyed, he will no longer be able to fuse with it and reach the divine Tao realm? At that time, when the experts from the 8 Desolaces arrive, one less divine Tao realm expert, how can we stop them?" The Empress of Fan Province coldly said. "Divine Tao realm? Experts from the 8 Desolaces?" According to the Empress of Fan Province, relying on the second Yuan spirit clone could help Di Yin reach the divine Tao realm? Higher than the immortal Emperor realm? If that's the case, wouldn't the Empress of Fan Province be able to do the same? It seems like the reason why the system determined that he couldn't win against Di Yin was because of the divine Tao realm. Thinking of this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with an indifferent expression. So what if the experts from the 8 Desolaces are in the divine Tao realm? Ben Shao can kill them all with a wave of his hand. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. What you need to consider now is how to serve Ben Shao well. If you can satisfy Ben Shao, it's not impossible for you to let go of this Yuan spirit clone of yours. However, the price will be slightly higher. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled mockingly. Chapter 359. Impudent. If you dare to disrespect this emperor, not only will there be no place for you in the immortal martial domain, there will also be no martial residence of the divine martial dynasty. Bang! Pa! In an instant, a cruel smile appeared on Wang Kai's face. With a wave of his hand, he took off all his clothes and hugged the Fan Zhou Great Empress' willowy waist, forcefully thrusting his waist forward. The sense of urgency in the passageway stimulated Wang Kai to the extreme. The Fan Zhou female monarch's elegant brows tightly knitted together as she desperately tried to close her legs. However, due to the formation rune chains, she was unable to move at all. Her delicate body could only tremble as her eyes were filled with an intense killing intent and shame. No matter how much she refused to believe it, she didn't want to believe it. However, the pain in her lower body constantly reminded her that all of this was real. This emperor will definitely kill. Papa. Following which, under Wang Kai's repeated actions, the Fan Province Empress cried out. Her head tilted back, causing the 2 white bunnies in front of her chest to tremble. At this point, you still dare to threaten Ben Shao? Do you really think Ben Shao is afraid of you? Papa. Do you still think you're the arrogant Fan Province Empress? Wrong, the current you is just a lowly slave that Ben Shao can play with. Bang. Papa. TSK, you're still a virgin. After cultivating for over 1,000 years, you must be very lonely, right? Di Yin, that pretentious prick, will die sooner or later. Before that, Ben Shao will enjoy himself to his heart's content. When Ben Shao enters the sovereign Taoist sect, he will definitely kill Di Yin, who you think is your only hope. Papa. You've played with Ben Shao time and time again. Ben Shao, I don't care about the big picture, but if you dare to use Ben Shao as a chess piece and control him as you wish, that will be your greatest crime. Bang. Papa. The chariot continued to tremble. The man's heavy breathing and stern reprimanding could be heard from within, as well as the woman's pained screams. Along with the rhythmic sounds, it continued to linger in everyone's ears. The faces of the many cultivators who heard this stiffened, and they were shocked. Heavens! The Empress of the Fan Province was actually violated by Wang Kai. This. I'm afraid it will shock the entire immortal martial domain, right? Dean of the sovereign Taoist sect and the Empress of the Fan Prefecture have always been said to be a match made in heaven. Now, how are they supposed to be together? At the same time, on the other side of the misty mountain, Niu Zhetian and Pai Xiu were shaking their bodies in satisfaction. They knew what had happened a moment ago. Seeing that Wang Kai was fine, they didn't come to help. Now that he had looted all the spirit herbs and elixirs in the misty mountain, he walked towards Wang Kai's carriage with satisfaction. Ling Feng, Kenren, Bai He, Lin Hantian and his sister, the 10 golden dragons and Prince Jin Duo also appeared one after another. Looking at the familiar scene of the carriage shaking, everyone felt a little speechless. Papa. Niu Zhetian snorted and said disdainfully, "Little brat Wang is quite strong. Not only did he defeat Dean, but he also defeated the Empress of Fanzhou. However, compared to Master Niu, he's still too weak." Bai He's mouth twitched when he heard this. He quickly put his hand on his forehead and said helplessly, "I know, we all know. Senior Niu, when you fought with the beautiful concubine, you shook the mountains and cracked the earth. So, please don't talk about it anymore." Little Bai, are you trying to act tough in front of Master Niu? Niu Zhetian's eyes widened and he stared at Bai He. He, I wonder how mad the Empress of the Fan Province and Dean will be? It seems like we have to increase our cultivation as soon as possible. Kenren licked his lips and rubbed his bald head with a sinister smile. Ling Feng shook his head and said coldly, "We don't have enough time, we can't help him." Kenren could only pat his bald head. He didn't think there was anything wrong with what Ling Feng said. It was all because Wang Kai was increasing his cultivation level too quickly. It was impossible for them to help him. "Young Master Wang, Han Yu really misjudged you. You're so evil." Lin Han Yu's eyes were filled with anger. She had followed Wang Kai and thought that he was a magnanimous and good man. Who would have thought that he would be so shameless? Even if he wanted to do it, he should have done it behind people's backs. If Lin Hantian, who was beside her, knew what Lin Hanyue was thinking, what would he think? "Did you win any pills?" Niu Zhetian asked Jin Duo curiously. Jin Duo and the 10 golden dragons looked at each other and said embarrassedly, "We didn't win, the riddles were too difficult." "That's right. Fortunately, young Master Kai and Dean started fighting, otherwise we would definitely have lost everything." "Bastard! Who stole this Dan Xian's spirit medicine? Who stole the pill that this Dan immortal painstakingly refined?" "That is the immortal level heaven grade pill that this Dan immortal has stored for more than 900 years. I have been planting them for over 1,000 years. Who did it? Who did it?" Suddenly, a demon-like roar rang out, shaking the entire ethereal mountain. "It's the ethereal alchemy immortal. Did he just say that the pills and spirit herbs were stolen? Could it be that someone dared to steal the elixirs?" Many cultivators looked at the source of the voice in surprise. After a short while, they saw the ethereal alchemy immortal's angry face appear in the sky. Slap! Niu Zhetian snorted, raised his head, and said disdainfully, "What are you shouting for? Hurry up and get down. Those medicinal pills and spirit medicines of yours have all been taken away by Grandpa Ox." Swoosh! Everyone was shocked when they heard that. Ling Feng, Duanren, Bai He and the others looked at Niu Zhetian. However, they looked like they wanted to rob him. As for the cultivators from the various provinces, they raised their thumbs and secretly praised this bull demon for having guts. "Bastard! Where did you come from? How dare you?" Slap! The ethereal alchemy immortal was furious, but before he could finish, Niu Zhetian snorted and pointed at the carriage. He said, "I am Niu Zhetian, the great demon of the Black Tortoise Mountain. You should know who is in the carriage, right?" Whoosh! The ethereal alchemy immortal's face changed drastically. He had been watching the battle between Wang Kai Dian and the Empress of the Fanzhou. When he saw that Wang Kai had won, he was so scared that he wanted to take all the pills and spiritual herbs and run away. However, when he went to collect the pills and spiritual herbs, he found that they were all stolen. Ethereal Dan Immortal's expression was uncertain. He glanced at the chariot with fear. In the end, he gritted his teeth and scolded, "Even if he has the dustless fire, I am not an original spirit clone. The terror of the divine Tao realm can definitely suppress the pressure of the strange fire. This pill immortal is willing to risk the destruction of Sun Moon Island to kill all of you. Damn you, Niuzhitian die." Chapter 360. Rumble. Rumble. All of a sudden, a terrifying power swept across the area, shattering the misty mountain. Even the entire Sun Moon Island was tossed and turned in the Star Luo Sea. The terrifying power gathered around the misty pill immortal's body, causing his aura to rise unceasingly. In just a few breaths, he had surpassed the peak of the Celestial Emperor realm. Many cultivators were startled by such an oppressive aura. Some of them even fell into the cracks of the misty mountain. At the same time, the entire Sun Moon Island, whether it was the elixir region or the weapon region, was in a state of shattering. All of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth rushed into the misty pill immortal's body crazily. Using the power of a state to forcefully reach the divine path realm? Pa, 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 pa. Niuzhitian snorted and looked quite disdainful. He suddenly shouted at the chariot, "Little Wang, use the dustless fire to suppress him." Whoosh! Bang! Suddenly, the trembling chariot regained its calm. A pale white flame pierced through the chariot and entered Ethereal Pill Fairy's body. Ethereal Pill Fairy's face turned pale, and he was forced to stop gathering his power. Plop! As the Sun Moon Island calmed down, the misty pill immortal's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He was sweating profusely as he fell to the ground. He couldn't believe his eyes and shouted, "Impossible! Why can't I restrain the mystical flame after reaching the divine path realm?" Pa! Niuzhitian came in front of the misty pill immortal and stomped on his face. The misty pill immortal's face caved in and his facial bones were shattered. "You just used the power of a state to forcefully reach the divine path realm. You're at the bottom of the six gods realm. Even if you're a divine spirit, you'll still be suppressed by the mystical flame." Niuzhitian snorted disdainfully. "Divine spirit!" The misty pill immortal screamed crazily and covered his face with his hands. He quickly took out a few elixirs and crushed them, turning them into powder and sprinkling it on his face. "Everyone outside, be quiet for Benshao. If you dare to disturb Benshao's wedding night, think about the consequences." As Wang Kai's angry voice came from the carriage, the hearts of many cultivators who heard it trembled. Even their breathing became lighter. Inside the carriage, Wang Kai hugged the Fanzhou Empress, whose face was flushed red and whose eyes were filled with shame and anger. With a rather mischievous smile, he said, "Heh, why don't you call your good niece out to take a look? You can't." The Fan Prefecture Empress's beautiful eyes widened as she cried out in fear. If Yun Qianqian were to see this, she would be humiliated. However, Wang Kai ignored him and released Yun Qianqian from the Supreme Tower. "Wang Kai, how dare you imprison me, you deserve." The moment Yun Qianqian appeared, her beautiful face darkened as she cursed. However, before she could finish her sentence, she saw Wang Kai and the Fan Prefecture Empress hugging each other completely naked. Instantly, she was dumbfounded and fell onto the golden dragon throne. "Wang Kai, you shameless!" The killing intent in the Fan Prefecture Empress's beautiful eyes intensified. She really wanted to use all her strength to break all the formation runes. However, even if she did that, she would still be defeated by Wang Kai's true spirit avatar in the end. At that time, wouldn't it be as Wang Kai said, that she would not be facing him alone, but another true spirit avatar? As she thought of this, the Fan Prefecture Empress could only grit her teeth as blood dripped from her thin red lip. Her originally arrogant and insufferably arrogant temperament had now completely disappeared. It was as if she was powerless and did not struggle anymore. Her arrogant heart had been completely destroyed by Wang Kai. She had no face left. Slap slap. Seeing Wang Kai's playful actions, Yun Xianxian was already dumbfounded. She could not believe the scene in front of her eyes. However, it was so real. You bastard! Let go of my aunt! Yun Xianxian regained her senses, immediately stood up and clawed at Wang Kai. However, she was also suspended in midair by the formation rune. She could only stare at Wang Kai with her beautiful eyes wide open and filled with anger. Just like that, a few hours passed. When Wang Kai was fully dressed, he waved his hand and broke all the formation runes. He calmly looked at the Fan Prefecture Empress who was lying on the golden dragon throne and smiled. This is just a lesson for you. I hope you will not provoke Ben Shao in the future. Otherwise, Ben Shao will not let you live the next time. Swoosh. Then, Wang Kai's eyes turned and looked at the dazed Yun Xianxian with a playful smile. Di-in, who you thought was the strongest, has died at the hands of Ben Shao. Oh, even though it is only a Yuan spirit avatar, Ben Shao will let you see how his real body is killed by Ben Shao. So, until then, you should live well. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Xianxian's beautiful eyes widened and her delicate body trembled. She was afraid that Wang Kai would treat her like how he treated her aunt. Fortunately, Wang Kai did not have such intentions. However, Yun Xianxian did not believe that Di-in was killed by Wang Kai. Even though she was disdainful, she did not dare to not express it. She was afraid that Wang Kai would attack her. Xianxian, let's go. The Fan Prefecture Empress's beautiful face was filled with coldness. She quickly put on her clothes and stood up with a frown on her face, enduring the pain. Although her heart was filled with regret, there was also endless anger. But things had already come to this, there was no turning back. She could only suppress the anger in her heart. Wang Kai, if the immortal martial domain falls into a calamity because of you, I will definitely kill you before that happens. The Fan Prefecture Empress said coldly. Swoosh. After the Fan Prefecture Empress and Yun Xianxian flew away, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled. A calamity in the immortal martial domain? Even if there is, Ben Shao will single-handedly turn the tide. However, if you and Di-in become enemies with Ben Shao again, regardless of the calamity, Ben Shao will not show you any mercy. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You have received 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through to the 7th grade Immortal Emperor realm. Pa. Swoosh. Niu Zhetian snorted and walked into the carriage. He looked at Wang Kai with disdain and said, Little Wang, the calamity she mentioned is not real. If you do not reach the divine realm, you will not be able to survive. What is the divine realm? Is it the power that the ethereal pill immortal used? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked curiously. Niu Zhetian looked at Wang Kai with disdain. He raised his head proudly and said, The 6 divine realms are the divine realm, 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 and the divine realm. To the immortal martial domain, the divine realm is invincible. But to Master Niu, it still cannot hurt Master Niu. Chapter 361. Godly Path. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at Niu Zhetian. He smiled and said, So you said you were going to break through to the godly path? So Luoning was the best deployment spellcaster 5,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, he was a direct descendant of the best deployment spellcaster clan. And the 4 godly beasts. So the 4 godly beasts were going to break through to the godly path? Clap. Niu Zhetian snorted and said, breaking through to the godly path is when a cultivator condenses his own Tao. There are 9 levels of the godly path. There are 9 chances to break through to the godly path and then condense a more perfect Tao. That's called breaking through to the godly path, but it's only the first time. To condense one's own Tao and reach the divine Tao realm, there were 9 grades. One had to constantly break the Tao that one had already condensed and choose a more suitable Tao. After reaching the peak of the 9th grade of the divine Tao, the Tao law would be fixed and could no longer be changed. Wang Kai understood what Niu Zhetian meant, but what did he mean by breaking through to the godly path for the first time? Could it be that after the divine Tao stage, there's still a Tao-breaking realm? Wang Kai's brows immediately raised as he asked in surprise. Niu Zhetian groaned enigmatically and said, "Of course I do." Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. Seeing that he didn't intend to say it out loud, he didn't care and said with a faint smile, "It's just the second breaking realm. It's not that this young master wants to boast, but as long as this young master wants to, he can easily break through 1,000 times. Congratulations to the host for bragging. You have gained 10,000 experience points and 10 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for bragging thousands of times and obtaining the achievement of bragging. With this achievement, the reward for bragging can be increased tenfold. Bragging. Increased tenfold reward. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's face lit up with joy. Back in the Fan Prefecture, he had obtained an achievement which increased the original reward by 10 times. Now it had increased by another 10 times. Host, Wang Kai occupation, martial artist, talisman cultivator, array cultivator secondary occupation, alchemist realm, 7th grade immortal emperor cultivation method, immortal Tao true spirit technique, pill codex, spirit codex martial techniques. Teleportation, divine soul suppression, annihilation fist, possession, essence bullet equipment. Tower of Babel, 9 dragon cauldron, god punishing brush, 10,000 formation restriction map bloodline. Level 9 bragging points, 150 experience. 10000900000. Wang Kai took a quick glance at the screen and closed it. His heart was filled with excitement as he thought to himself, an increase of 10 times? Does that mean that bragging once would earn me 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points? If that's the case, wouldn't it be a breakthrough by 1 level? Pa. Niu Zhetian snorted and raised his head. He stared at Wang Kai and said, "Little boy, what do you want? Why are you so alarmed?" However, Wang Kai didn't have time to talk to him. He cleared his throat and smiled. "Benshao, who will be afraid of you in the future? A mere celestial martial cultivator will become my master. In the future, I will also become a venerable. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 8th grade Immortal Emperor realm. His strength had increased tenfold. When he heard this notification, Wang Kai was unable to restrain himself any longer, and he immediately stood up with his hands on his waist as he roared with laughter. All of you at the Divine Tao realm are only ants in the end in the eyes of this young master. If they come, I will destroy them with a flick of my finger. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 9th grade Immortal Emperor realm. When Niu Zhetian saw Wang Kai laughing like a maniac, he immediately ran out of the chariot. He didn't want to get caught up in the commotion. Ling Feng and the others who were outside the carriage were just about to board the carriage when they heard such an extremely arrogant and boastful voice, and they instantly exchanged glances with the others before their footsteps suddenly stopped. When they saw Niu Zhetian running out of the chariot, Ling Feng and the others felt that they had made the right choice. What is he doing in there? Why did he suddenly become so crazy? Kanran licked his lips and rubbed his bald head vigorously. His expression was full of surprise. Papa. Niu Zhetian shook his head and said, "He must have been scared silly by the celestial Tao layer. It seems like I shouldn't have told him about the Tao-breaking realm. It was too much of a shock for him." Wang Kai can be scared? As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused the expressions of everyone to be extremely astonished, and they all rolled their eyes on the spot. No one was willing to believe it. Ha ha ha, where is the path to becoming the ruler of the universe? It is right under Benshio's feet. Divine Tao Realm, this young master is coming. Wang Kai's expression was extremely delighted as he laughed loudly. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the first-grade Immortal Emperor realm. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 10th-grade Immortal Emperor realm. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 10th-grade Immortal Emperor realm. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the Immortal Emperor realm. With the help of the Immortal Emperor realm, the host can be revived as long as there is a drop of blood left. Host: Wang Kai. Occupation: Martial Artist, Talisman Cultivator, Array Cultivator. Auxiliary Occupation: Alchemist Realm, First Grade Immortal Emperor Realm. Cultivation Method: Immortal True Spirit Technique, Elixir Codex, Spirit Codex. Martial Skills: None. Equipment: Tower of Babel, 9 Dragon Cauldron, God Punishing Brush, 10,000 Formation Restriction Map. Bloodline, 10th Grade. Bragging Points, 450 Experience Points, 30000100000. As a series of notifications rang out, Wang Kai's blood began to boil. The fact that he had regrown a level 10 bloodline made him so excited that he was about to go crazy. 10th Grade Immortal Emperor Realm. With this Immortal Emperor Realm, Benshao can kill an enemy who is a whole realm higher than him. Even if Benshao is only at the 1st Grade Immortal Emperor Realm, he can kill a 1st Grade Immortal Emperor Realm expert. If Benshao reaches the 2nd Grade Immortal Emperor Realm, he can even kill a 2nd Grade Immortal Emperor Realm expert. If this goes on, Benshao will be able to kill a 9th Grade Immortal Emperor Realm expert with his combat power when he reaches the 9th Grade Immortal Emperor Realm. With the addition of the Immortal Emperor Realm bloodline, as long as Benshao separates some blood essence and stores it in a safe place, he can be revived instantly even if he dies. It is really awesome. Wang Kai took a deep breath and felt as if there were countless ants crawling all over his body. The excitement that made his blood boil and tremble was really hard to control. No, I have to keep a low profile. Benshao is such an awesome person. What does the Immortal Emperor Realm bloodline and the 10th Grade Immortal Emperor Realm mean to him? Well, in Benshao's eyes they are just trash. Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be calm and tranquil. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 2nd Grade Immortal Emperor Realm. Chapter 362. Host, you still have 7 chances to choose a cultivation path. If you have reached the 9th grade of the Divine Path, but have not chosen a cultivation path, the system will automatically determine that you are cultivating the Immortal Path. Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai, who was in a state of excitement, was stunned. He raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion, Immortal Path? What does that mean? Host, the cultivation method you are practicing is the Immortal Path True Spirit technique. If you do not choose any other path, you will be cultivating the Immortal Path. Immortal Path? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He immediately urged his mind to open the system store. After clicking on the list of cultivation methods, he suddenly gasped and said in surprise, "There are so many of them? The Tao of Slaughter, the Tao of Destiny, the Tao of Heavenly Secrets, the Tao of Three Purities, the Tao of Demons, the Tao of Immortals, the Tao of Buddhas, the Tao of Demons." Immortal Path is the Control Path, Fate Path is the Against Heaven, and Fate Path is the Divination Path. Wang Kai clicked on the abilities of each path with his mind. For a moment, he could not make a choice. Each path had different abilities. What was more annoying was that each path was unique. It was really difficult to choose one of them. The path of bragging? There is a cultivation method for bragging? Wang Kai's eyes suddenly froze. He clicked on the detailed explanation of the ability of the path of bragging with his mind. He was overjoyed at the first glance. He waved his arm and said, "Ben Shao naturally wants to cultivate the path of bragging. This is it." Host, with your current bragging points, you can't cultivate the path of bragging. Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. Just now, he saw the bragging points required for cultivation in the lower left corner of the path of bragging. 1,000 points. Host, Wang Kai. Occupation, Warrior, Talisman Cultivator, Array Cultivator. Auxiliary Occupation, Alchemist Realm. Second grade of the Divine Path Cultivation Method, Immortal Path True Spirit Technique, Elixir Code, Spiritual Code. Martial Arts Technique. None Equipment, Tower of Babel, 9 Dragon Cauldron, God-Killing Brush, 10,000 Formation Restriction Map. Bloodline, Level 10 Bragging Points, 550 Experience, 30000100000. There was still a gap of 450 points. The Tao of Bragging. As long as you use all the Taos you have cultivated to brag, once you succeed, you will instantly obtain the ability of the Tao you are bragging about. Didn't such an awesome Tao mean that he had mastered all the Taos of cultivation? If Ben Shao has already mastered the Tao of Heavenly Secrets, he will definitely be able to obtain the Tao of Heavenly Secret. The same goes for the other Taos. Wang Kai laughed excitedly. He did not care about the mere 450 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the third stage of the Divine Tao realm. Ben Shao's level of awesomeness is unparalleled in the world. Everywhere he goes, he'll definitely obtain the reverence of all living beings. Wang Kai shrugged as he lay on the golden dragon throne and smiled while crossing his legs. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the fourth stage of the Divine Tao realm. After hearing the notification, Wang Kai pursed his lips and smiled casually. He cleared his throat and laughed softly again. It's not that Ben Shao wants to boast, but in Ben Shao's eyes, all the experts in the universe are trash. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the fifth stage of the Divine Tao realm. Sigh, being invincible is really lonely. I can only sigh that I have never met a worthy opponent in this world. There are so many beauties at Ben Shao's disposal. It's so boring. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the sixth stage of the Divine Tao realm. Host, Wang Kai. Occupation, Martial Artist, Talisman Cultivator, Array Cultivator. Auxiliary Occupation, Alchemist Realm, 6th Stage of the Divine Tao Realm Cultivation Method, Immortal True Spirit Technique, Elixir Code, Spirit Code Martial Skills, None Equipment, Tower of Babel, Cauldron of 9 Dragons, Death God Brush, 10,000 Formation Seal Diagram Bloodline, Level 10 Bragging Points, 950 Experience. 30000100000 Wang Kai swiftly glanced at it and activated his thoughts to close it. He suddenly stood up and placed his hands behind his back. He lifted his hand and pulled open the bead curtain. He raised his head to look at the moon and said with a faint smile, "The moon in the sky was created by this young master's spit back then. Looks like I should create a few more in the future when I have the time. A mere crescent moon is really not bright enough. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 7th stage of the Divine Tao Realm." Niu Zhetian and the others looked at Wang Kai in astonishment. They were speechless when they saw him standing in front of the carriage with his hands behind his back and bragging. "Lord Wang Yu, what's wrong with you?" Lin Hanyue blinked her beautiful eyes and asked in a trembling voice. If it weren't for Lin Hantian holding her back, she would have rushed over. However, Wang Kai didn't have time to deal with them. He immediately activated his will and said with a smile, "Cultivate the way of bragging. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of bragging. 1,000 bragging points have been consumed." Wang Kai was overjoyed when he heard the notification. He shrugged and looked at Lin Hanyue with an unfathomable gaze. He smiled faintly and said, "Sister Hanyue, do you need Ben Shao to tell your fortune?" Ben Shao is not boasting, but Ben Shao has been observing the stars since he was young. He knows a lot about the way of divination. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th stage of the Divine Tao Realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of divination. Host: Wang Kai. Occupation: Warrior, Talisman Cultivator, Array Cultivator. Auxiliary occupation: Alchemist Realm. 8th stage of the Divine Tao Realm Cultivation Method, Way of Divination, Alchemy Codex, Spirit Codex. Martial Skills, None Equipment, Tower of Babel, Cauldron of 9 Dragons, God Punishing Brush, 10,000 Formation Seal Map Bloodline, Level 10 Bragging Points, 150 Experience, 30000100000. It was as expected. That, Lord Wang, please don't scare Hanyue, okay? Lin Hanyue's beautiful eyes overflowed with tears. She lowered her head and sobbed softly. Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly when he saw this. He immediately waved his hand and said with a rather indifferent expression, "Ben Shao just suddenly felt like bragging. Don't mind, don't mind." Clap. Niu Zhetian snorted and said in a muffled voice, "Little Wang, if it weren't for the fact that I am breaking through, I would have kicked you out of the sky with my hoof. Hee, Big Brother's bragging skills are getting better and better. Even the moon is formed by your spit. I admire you, I admire you." Kenren licked his lips and said with a rather ferocious grin. Lin Feng said coldly, "Don't learn too much about bragging and don't admire too much." Yes, Big Brother, you are right." Kenren rubbed his bald head and quickly replied. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and looked at Ling Feng. He narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Have you succeeded in your revenge? If you haven't found Li Tsonglan, Ben Shao can tell your fortune." Swoosh. Ling Feng was startled when he heard this. He couldn't help but look at Wang Kai in surprise. He secretly thought to himself, does he really have the ability to tell the future? He nodded and said, "Yes." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.